Alright, we're going to be starting just like 10 seconds early, but these guys are pretty much ready to go. We're going to be getting straight to the action today. Welcome, welcome. We're going to be doing some King of the Hill. Eric Feltz, we got Davian, some person. Nice. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, King of the Hill today, basically, you know the drill if you haven't seen it before. This is how it goes. People fight to maintain the title, and challengers come. They have varying selections. They can either pick to choose the same faction. Again, on this first one, just pick double ban, right? And Tank, who's playing vampire counts here, it gets first pick, double ban. Valkanos chooses to respond here with Norska. Got a couple of mammoths. We've got Throg, Skin Wolf Werekin, Fire Famir. 5 berserkers, looks like. Yeah, I should probably kill these guys. Start when ready. Yeah, some zombies. We've got Blood Knights. Looks like Blood Dragon, Cryptors here. Cryptors are an interesting unit. Been seeing them a bit more lately than I used to. They're actually pretty solid, I think. Might be featuring them in a replay soon if I can, but with the corpse cart support especially, giving them a bit more stats, their melee defense in particular is very poor, given that they only have 15 armor. They don't have a lot of weapon strength either, kind of on the low side, to be honest, for monstrous infantry. Like, all their stats are just not amazing, but they do have regeneration and poison attacks, so there's that. Their heavy mass can help block enemy high mass unit models and cavalry and so on, so it's an interesting one. I have seen this 5 berserker build as well, and I don't know, against Blood Knights, like, Blood Knights are just such a strong counter to berserkers and to the mammoths both. Without the mass of something like Famir to really stop them, I mean, Famir are kind of the biggest danger in my eyes to Blood Knights. Granted, I definitely have a heavy cavalry bias, but yeah, the Blood Knights here, like, you can just cycle charge the Marauders first, the Berserkers, not necessarily, I mean, you'll take damage from the Mammoths in the meantime, but as long as you're on top of your micro, you can present other targets as well, like these Cryptors. Taking some damage on them is not the end of the world. Yeah, coming in here and trying to thin out these Berserkers first is how I would approach this. Tank, though, here, kind of getting a little bit of a surround. He comes in and gets some good damage on these Berserkers, but the Throg and the Werekin staying tight on that Mammoth. Meanwhile, over here, these Blood Knights get a pretty decent charge, but at the same time, you really need to thin out the Marauder infantry support first before you can get really clean charges. And here, Berserkers will actually beat Cryptors just because the stat differential and the high weapon damage. Low melee defense and low armor means that they'll just get absolutely shredded there. So far, Valkanos is doing this pretty well. Tank's having a hard time getting his Blood Knights really to bear here, but Heart Piercing activated on the Blood Dragon, Vampire Lord. Throg's going to sweep back in, the Werekin as well. Blood Knight's kind of screening a little bit here, but they take a big shot from that Mammoth. Of course, it's not the biggest issue for them. These Blood Knights over here have also taken some damage, but yeah, for now, Berserkers are holding just fine. Looks like a nice Burning Head. Gonna roast out some of those zombies. Get some nice chaff damage there, some good damage on the Graveguard also. In this monster fight, though, Throg might get caught out here by Cryptors and the Blood Dragon. Blood Dragon could honestly probably turn and fight now, but it looks like he's going to pull back up in the air. Quick Dance Macabre on those Blood Knights. I actually definitely personally would have overcasted that and hit everything. The Cryptors in particular, if you could give them a bit more melee attack, would hit a lot harder. But regardless, Throg's in a bit of trouble now. The Southern Mammoth definitely needs to come over here. Some more Berserker support as well. These guys are going into their Enrage, so I'll continue fighting here, you know, with some extra stats and everything. 56 melee attack on those guys, so they're hitting even these Blood Knights pretty consistently. And even though they don't have the best armor piercing damage, it's still 58 total weapon damage. Is quite a lot. But let's get in close. War Shrine Mammoths here. War Shrine Mammoths having that Giver of Glory as well with the Kindle Flame. I haven't been catching where he's distributing that, if he is distributing that, but in theory, pretty strong against vampires. But Throg is in a bad situation here, just completely surrounded. The Southern Mammoth definitely getting cornered here. I guess not cornered, but blocked by those Cryptors, and that's why you bring them, I guess, in many situations. Despite Throg going down here, though, the balance of power is really not looking great for the vampire counts for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Maybe because the Mammoths are still so healthy, but Throg, did he just straight up kick the bucket? I think he just went down But, oh man, that Burning Head did clip quite a few of those Berserkers, which is not great. This balance of power should start coming back here as this Mammoth gets taken down. But these Blood Knights have taken way too much damage here. They've been over-engaged. You really, like I said, you need to thin out this infantry support first. I've played this matchup actually quite a bit with Blood Knight builds. This Blood Knight might stabilize. This one, it's right on the edge there. It actually stops crumbling momentarily with the Corpse Cart. If the Corpse Cart could get over here and get some passive healing, that would be very helpful. But I think the Corpse Cart might have just got taken out. I don't see it still on the field anywhere. So, Werekin now going to be the subject of the Vampire Lord's Wrath. I guess the Werekin's also a lot of what's holding this balance of power up, since he can regenerate. Blood Knights, though, here again, they get a pretty good engagement against the Mammoth. Berserker support, will it actually be enough? These two definitely out of position, need to come around and get a flank engagement exactly like that. And pull that Mammoth, excuse me, didn't really warm up my voice before this. Pull that Mammoth out of this fight while that Helm of Discord is going. That Helm of Discord, nasty big AoE debuff. You really don't want the Mammoth taking all of that damage in the meantime. Knocks over the Crypt Horrors there and should be able to disengage now. But man, those Blood Knights, I said he was going to lose that one. Only 4 models there. I'm very surprised. I shouldn't really be surprised, to be honest. The Blood Knights are ridiculously hard to kill. Ooh, I think, honestly, just throwing the fireballs at the Crypt Horrors at this point. Because Tank doesn't really want to dedicate resources to healing something that cheap, but you really need to get rid of them. They're providing a lot of extra mass and healing and tanking quite a bit of damage here for these other units. Mammoth's attack animation is a little bit unfortunate, dragging it forward there and out of range of support. Yeah, I don't know. I think Tank's probably got this. I was saying the balance power being slightly inflated here, but Mammoth actually goes on an attack that way. Finally, the one Blood Knight is gone. The second Blood Knight, though, still fighting 20 unit models here. I don't know. Even if this Mammoth does go down, will it be enough? The Werekin's still super healthy. And the Mammoth doesn't look like it's going to go down here. Werekin gets a really nice attack into the side of the Blood Dragon there. And look at all these Berserkers, too, just absolutely smashing through everything that's left. It's going to be down to the Blood Knights. And these, yeah, these Graveguard are completely done. Maybe, maybe I'm calling it too early both sides, but we'll see. A lot of it comes down to how this Blood Dragon gets an engagement. Right now, the Blood Knights have to stay engaged here, more or less, I think, according to attacking rules. But looks like they disengage anyway. I'll have to double check that. Mammoth takes a big attack right there. Blood Knights, though, are basically finished. A nice zombie summon that can fulfill the attacking rules, since they'll be in there. If Blood Knights can then cycle charge. I don't know, though. Blood Knights might just get taken out here. And the zombies are going to get just absolutely shredded, like, in a matter of seconds. So it's really not too long. Basically, it buys some time for these Blood Knights to try and chase off. But the Blood Knights are crumbling. They're also going to be taking damage this whole time while they're chasing this Mammoth off. And also, ooh, a fireball into the Blood Knights takes out a few of their unit models there. Beautifully done. The Werekin just bounces off the side of the Blood Dragon. But yeah, I think I'm pretty confident that Blood Knight's only 141 HP left. Yeah, they're going to go down in a big hurry. And Tank's got to engage with the Blood Dragon. Throws a last breath attack there on the Famir. Knocks him over. Does some okay damage, but that's it. The Werekin will decide basically if he gets good RNG here. Let's see what he can do. Gets an attack there. Another fireball, potentially. Berserker's also getting some chip damage here on the side. If they can hit up to their next tier of Enrage, that should be pretty much GG. But wow, what a game. Yeah, the Blood Knights, they didn't really get good, clean engagements. And that's what I was saying. You see how all these Berserkers are still here fighting? That's super critical, the fact that the Berserkers are still here fighting. Without them, this definitely would be much tougher for the Werekin. As it is, like, even as the Blood Dragon's attacking him, they're getting really consistent damage. Blood Dragons, most dragons actually have relatively low armor, but Vampire Dragons having 70 armor is not enough to really get effective mitigation against that 52 weapon strength. Yeah. Interesting builds. I like this 5 Berserker thing. I've seen it before, and I've seen it lose. I don't think I've seen it win on my channel before, but this is a pretty interesting kind of case study for it. It's absolutely cleaning the zombies. They're able to get a few engagements. Granted, it was a very close game. Definitely could have gone either way, but the Blood Knights, they did a lot of heavy lifting, but they needed to do even more. And just trying to get clean open charges on these Berserkers at the start of the game before they have their next tier of Enrage, because that extra physical resistance matters a lot, right? So if you can hit them early on before they get that, you'll be able to do a lot more damage. And just thinning their numbers before they get, because they have such high charge bonus and attack and other stats, you're able to thin their numbers out before they get to you a little bit. It's almost like, because you don't have ranged units, that's how you would have to shoot them, quote unquote, in a way, is to hit and run cycle charge with Blood Knights. And like with that 5 Berserker build, they don't have enough, Norska doesn't have the mobility to counter, right? They just don't have any answer for that, other than to try and position the mammoths correctly. But, I mean, if you have the flying monster plus multiple Blood Knights threatening different positions all at the same time, they can only be in so many places at once. And quick hit and run charges, you pull back, get some efficient healing, pull back to your Corpse Cart, get some passive healing. Yeah. Vamir, too, are a big danger in that matchup. It's an interesting one. It's probably one of the harder ones for vampire counts. I don't know that it's hard, necessarily. I would call it even, for sure, but very interesting. We'll switch on over to Plane of Spiders. Here's the thing, though. Like, if you pull the War Shrines out of position with your Blood Dragon, like you did, then you come in with the Blood Knights on a different position, and this is why you maybe want to consider also bringing a higher volume, like bring a couple Black Knights. Just the standard 750 Black Knights are super cost effective, because they can run in, hit, do some quick anti-infantry damage, pull back, right? Or even bringing a 3rd Blood Knight, since that's legal now. You could bring a 3rd Blood Knight, and then they have only 2 Mammoths, right? So at that point, you can threaten more positions than they can protect. So regardless, even if they're on top of their micro, which there were some potential slip-ups by Valkynos in positioning where you could have taken advantage, but it's tricky, obviously, when the game's going and everything's going fast. But it's all about positioning at that point. Like, you can, but yeah, the leadership on the Berserkers is really good, which is why I prioritize them so high with Blood Knights. And like, there were a couple points there, like, yeah, I don't know, even like when you're charging into the blob, you, rather than issuing the order on the Mammoth, you issue the order on the Berserkers. Like, if you're rear charging that blob, if you've got your zombies there fighting or something, you know. Yeah, and I would say maybe bringing some Black Knights would be a good potential thought for the vampire side. Where can do buff armor? It's true, but even it's only like what, plus 12? I mean, he's still like 20, 30 armor. It's like charging state troops, right? I mean, Berserkers only have 15, which is nothing. I mean, it's like, really, to get effective mitigation against something with as high charge as Blood Knights, you have to go up like 75 plus at least. I mean, even something like I mean, you look at, like, Mammoths, for example. Mammoths only have 70 armor, and they take a ton of damage from Blood Knights on the charge. Or something like, I don't know, Foot Squires or Silver Guard, if you're charging them in the back. Like, they'll take a ton of damage. So, yeah, like, the extra little bit of armor helps, don't get me wrong. It's a bit, but it's not. It's better for the Mammoths than it is for anything else. Right, so if you consider that they all might potentially be unbreakable, getting that damage in early on, that quick hit and run, I would say, because they have anti-infantry, you can't really do like a Hound Blob, like a quick strike Hound Blob, but honestly, Black Knights, I think the 750 Black Knights are a really good counter. Yeah, if you only have 2 Blood Knights, yeah. Yeah, more leadership than Saurus Warriors. They're super good, don't get me wrong. Like, Berserkers are definitely best in class for a DPS, like a DPS dual-wield unit. For anti-infantry, I don't know, you could make an argument if you include Slayers in that class, which you could, that they might also be number 1. I don't know, I kind of consider them a different role. They're almost like a halberd or a spear unit, to be completely real. Weird. The Slayers, and I guess Biggins too, are kind of hard. They're both in a similar category. But in terms of pure, like, anti-infantry DPS, and even we saw there, like, against large units too, just the high weapon damage and attack, Berserkers for only 750, like, they're super cost effective. Yeah, Slayers are anti-large. Same with Biggins too. They're like both regular and savage Biggins. They're like dual wielding. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, the pick rules are also, for anyone joining, I guess I probably should have made an announcement. That's my bad. But I'll go ahead and post something here now, just in case anyone missed it. Okay, so looks like we're gonna have Tomb Kings versus Wood Elves, potentially. I don't know. It's like that dual wield. Going back to that dual wielding unit class. It's kind of hard, and this is where like these unit classes start to sort of break down and seem kind of arbitrary, which they are to a degree. It's more about the usage of the unit that I look at, right? And so, just in general, like a shock infantry, dual wielding, whether it has anti-large or anti-infantry, like, yeah, they play somewhat of a different role, but you can and often do use them in similar ways as well. Yeah, it'd be tough because Biggins are really good, Slayers are really good, and Berserkers are really good. Like, all three of those, I think, would have an argument to be best in that class. Slayers obviously are unbreakable for what they represent too. They're the only anti-large infantry for Dawi, right? And Giant Slayers, I guess, are dual wielding, or not dual wielding, but they have like a great weapon, right? So I don't know. Maybe you don't include Slayers in there in that class because it's like a special case. But I mean, everything all the way from Flagellants up to Berserkers. Berserkers, I would say, are probably, again, if you strictly go just anti-infantry, are probably the best, and they might still be the best overall. I don't know. What do you guys think? They got more leadership than Biggins. I think they have less HP, though. You might have to check me on that. They have less mass than Biggins, too, obviously. The Enrage is really good, though. There's only 750, which is very cost-effective. They have good speed, too, and that's something that's pretty underrated for infantry units. I don't know. These guys are waiting on me as I'm pontificating about DPS units. Interesting to consider, though. Yeah, that's good analysis, Ivan. Definitely, Berserkers are more cost-effective versus Chaff, but lose 1v1, and Biggins are better versus Armored. Yeah, and large, so... Yeah, and here's the thing, too. Norska has a lot of armor sundering, so even if your opponent does have armored infantry, like, you can even just throwing a Balefiend in there as a melee support character to give armor sundering, like, yeah, he's going to be casting spells, obviously, too, so you got to be careful about throwing him around in melee like that, but Say you're fighting something like, I don't know. What's a good example? Even like a Graveguard, right? You throw in the Balefiend to support them in melee, get that armor sundering, and suddenly they're hitting a lot harder. Yeah. Biggins, though, I don't know. It's probably Biggins if we're being real. Anyway, having a look at no Biggins here. Instead, we've got Tomb Kings against Wood Elves. Starting out on this side, Ark in the Black, a couple of Bow Shabti, a Nehekara Horseman, got Skeleton Warriors. Yeah, Tomb Guard. Tomb Guard pretty good in this matchup. Skeleton Warriors are basically glorified zombies. We've got Eyes of the Desert here. Very strong unit. Big fan of the Sepulchral Stalkers in general, although their limited range could be an issue here. Horseman Archers over on the far side. Guys, and yeah, that's basically it. For the trees, we've got some trees. Got Durthu, nice, Branch Wraith, Dryads in the front line, Eternal Guards with shields, Wild Riders with shields, Weight Watchers, and Sisters of Thorn, which I used to see these gals a lot more. For whatever reason, you don't as much now, but they're still very solid. 30 charge. They only have 36 unit models, but 30 charge, 28 weapon strength, 33 defense, 34 attack. Kind of meh, but 40 physical resistance means you can kind of use them in a hybrid role. They've also got fantastic leadership, Shield of Thorns, and Curse of Honor Air. 2 Shield of Thorns, 1 Curse of Honor Air for some support abilities as well. Let's see how they do. The Shield of Thorns giving some extra physical resistance can help support melee engagements and help these Wild Riders, for example, increase their weapon damage as well. I already have 46 weapon damage while Frenzy's active, so they can hit very, very hard. With that, Way Watchers pull up and they're going to start blasting these Ushabti Great Bows. Ushabti are definitely the threat to Durthu, right? So you need to take them out. Way Watchers are going to take some damage in return, though. It's not the most cost-efficient trade right now for them. But actually, instead, going for the snipe on Arkan, they choose to switch targets real quick. Arkan's going to pull back. The Way Watchers kind of spreading their fire around a little bit here. So Wild Riders could just punch straight in here. Yeah, these Skeleton Warriors start to work away. I mean, this is kind of the idea, right, with these Ushabti Great Bows, is there is only 2 of them, so if you present all these targets at the same time, and just try and, you know, run through as much as possible, it can get a lot of pressure and potentially force some mistakes. You can see Sepulchral Stalkers following up to kind of block these Wild Riders here. They're going to pull away. But all this time, these Ushabti Great Bows are using ammo on stuff that's not Durthu, basically, is the idea here, right? The Way Watchers, everything else, like, the Way Watchers are also obviously very dangerous in and of themselves, so they can come in here, do some great damage to these Sepulchral Stalkers. Meanwhile, though, Fate of Buna is going to absolutely shred one of these Wild Riders. That's basically like a one-click delete right there. And Durthu, it looks like, is going to start taking some of this fire, which he wants to try and avoid as much as he can. Granted, the Shield of Thorns will help him as well resist some of that physical damage. I mean, from the Ushabti Great Bows. Way Watchers skedaddling, though. Wild Riders, Sisters of Thorn are going to redeploy, come over, take on these Tomb Guard, but the Eyes of the Desert getting gatted here by the High Elf Bows. Absolutely pin-cushioned. Not a great day for them, definitely. Durthu's starting to feel the heat, though, for sure. Those Ushabti Great Bows will be exceptionally dangerous. This Tomb Prince can come over here, help support these skeletons. More skeletons being summoned in the front line also. And Durthu really probably needs to pull back, see if he can, you know, pull back even into the woods and try and fight, like, right at the edge there. Pull back the Way Watchers. Try and maybe still have some of the engagement out here, obviously. But, yeah, nice charge here from these Wild Riders. Tomb Guard are going to be cutting through this front line pretty efficiently, and actually the Skeletons also not trading too bad here. But Sword of Daith now goes down, Block of Doom upgraded. Durthu is on his last legs here. He's got a little bit of healing from this Branch Wraith, but it's really not a ton. Things are looking good, though, for the Wood Elves, despite all of that on the balance of power. Durthu may go down here, but the loss of the Sepulchral Stalkers, the fact that Arkan's also very, very low, and I mean, the Ushabti Greatbow don't have a ton of ammo left. They're each kind of below 50%, maybe 40% ammo left. But we'll see. Wild Riders pressuring away these Skeleton Horseman Archers. The summoned Ushabti here. Way Watchers are going to try and get away, and most of them probably will be able to. Also, a Manticore summon now being used from Durthu, so even if he does go down, that's a good amount of value generated. This Manticore can go maybe hunt either these Great Bows themselves, or just try and finish off Arkan. Durthu, it looks like, probably going to be finished off here. He's right around the edge of range there for the Ushabti Great Bows, so they're not going to be as accurate, but he does get routed. Only 16 HP left. Oh no, Durthu's gone here. This is it. Oh, all of those missed. Oh, and one of the last ones gets him. He was almost free there, free and safe, but Way Watchers are now able to get in a position to respond. This Manticore also that he summoned, Durthu's Wrath, still flies around in the air and gnaws at the heels of Arkan here. So he rolls around. He, no doubt, is crumbling. Yes, he is crumbling. Gonna take a few more hits from the Manticore here and gets destroyed by the Wrath of Nature. Yes? No? Okay, maybe not. Crumbling is totally balanced, by the way. Even though the undead are losing, I'm still gonna choose to complain about it. It is actually, you know, Tomb Kings are one of the least egregious, and here, this Wood Elf build was able to deal with these Ushabti Great Bows quite well, despite the fact Durthu does get taken out here. I mean, again, it's kind of presenting too many targets, right? Like I said at the beginning, even though I was referring to Durthu specifically there, I guess if Durthu takes the shots, then you're not using it on the Way Watchers or the Wild Riders, which then leaves them open to clean up in the late game, and also to clean up your army, you know, during the game. But I really like this hit squad here of Wild Riders and Sisters of Thorn, using that Shield of Thorns to help keep the Wild Riders healthy throughout the game as they kind of ping-pong around and help protect different targets. It's good stuff. Ushabti Great Bows are the... I was going to say, are the Way Watchers actually fighting them in melee? They're trying to. These Skelly boys getting in here. Oh yeah. Wild Rider is such a cool unit. Sisters too. I might actually save this one for the sake of the sisters. That was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah, I like the pick of Arkan on the Chariot to potentially do a lot of damage, but I think if you're going to take a Chariot Lord, and that is viable, absolutely. Cetra, because he does fire damage baseline on his Chariot, he does armor piercing, and he also can give himself physical resistance and heal a little bit to help mitigate some of that. I think he has way more HP than Arkan too. So, yeah, I would say if you want to take a Chariot Lord, nope, that's not what I wanted. Whoops, misclicked. And now Medieval 2 is trying to start. Please, please, no. I mean, the Medieval 2 music, yes, but didn't actually want to run the game right now. Okay, thank you. Anyway. Here we go. Real quick, want to do this. I need a replay for Sisters of Thorn, and that's a pretty good use case for them to kind of support the Wild Riders there. I like that quite a bit. And, yeah. Did my game crash? I think my game might have crashed. No, there we go. Okay. My UI is having some issues, though, so let me restart real quick. My game. Okay. Okay, there we go. That was strange. Yeah, an interesting one. It's definitely an interesting one. I wouldn't say that the Wood Elves are or the Tomb Kings are necessarily favored against Wood Elves. I don't know. I think Wood Elves have. I would say personally that matchup is pretty even. I know other people might disagree, but I mean both factions have good tools, kind of back and forth. So, okay. Yeah, Jay Phoenix is up. I think he was already in the lobby. Just need to rehost here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see their game. So let me come in here. There we go. Change it to a land battle. I don't know why it's a free-for-all. Okay, get this reset here. Apologies about that. Okay. And they're in. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Map is locked in also. We'll get the music going again. FFA Kothwen. Oh man. Oh man, that would be wild. We could get through a lot of people pretty quick, actually. Yeah, Way Watchers can flip any game for Wood Elves regardless of favorability. That's true. It's all based on your Way Watcher play. That was pretty solid. Oh geez. Okay, Wood Elves versus Dwarfs. Yeah, Jay Phoenix says, I cannot beat his Wood Elves with my Empire. Too weak. You don't have enough heavy cavalry. If you're ever wondering why you're not winning a matchup with Empire, it's probably because you don't have enough heavy cavalry, and you should figure out a way to take, well, Pistoliers, of course. If you don't have Pistoliers, then obviously you should get Pistoliers, and then heavy cavalry, and then at that point you can analyze the rest of your build and see where you went wrong. But in all seriousness, in this Wood Elf matchup, like, I have legit run Volkmar in 6 to 7 heavy cavalry units to 8 heavy cavalry units even sometimes, and it goes pretty good. Bring more dancers against Dowie here. Yeah, potentially. Actually, man, if Wildwood Rangers had stock, they would actually be good, I think. Like, honestly, because they need stock, and I think they need a little bit more melee defense too, like just ridiculously good stats. Yeah, it kind of just depends on how many flame cannons Dawi brings and how many organ guns they bring. Yeah, Wildwood Rangers are in a very weird spot for multiplayer. They're just not good at all. I don't know. I've been trying to figure out some viable use cases for them, and in most situations they just get dumpstered. They used to be good. There used to be certain situations where you could take them as kind of a surprise pick, and maybe you still can against, like, Chaos specifically, I'm thinking. Because they don't have a lot of missiles, and they have some armored units you might need them against, but like any other faction, I really can't think of super viable use cases for them. Or any use cases, to be honest. Square, Pentagon. I think we're going to see an all-Dawi Vanguard rush. Nope. Just kidding. It's an organ gun build. 3 organ guns. 2 organ guns, rather. Belagru Iron Hammeru. Slayers. Dwarf Warriors. Warlers. 1 unit of Bugmans. 2, 3, 4 unit of Bugmans. Okay, I approve this. And... yeah, that's it for the Wood Elves. Ooh, Wood Elves going aggressive here. Orion, all of the Glade Gourds. We got, what, 5 Glade Gourds? Way Watchers up front. Wild Rotors. Yes, all of the wrong names. Wild Riders here. Interesting pick. This map is one where they don't have a ton of space to be able to operate super freely, but can get some work done in the right situation. This is interesting to just go mass shooting. Like, this is legal, by the way. You can technically do this. It's 12 missile units, which is the max besides Lords and Heroes not included. Russian nesting guns. Yep. Yeah. An organ gun that shoots more organ guns. There we go. Yeah, actually, this is going to be interesting. We'll see how this goes. Potentially, this is good. Blade Gourds have pretty good armor-piercing damage regularly, and then obviously Starfire Shafts do a bit of magic damage, but also deal better armor-piercing damage, so it's an interesting one. I guess they don't do magic damage anymore. Ignore me. They are very strong in this matchup. Can be, yeah. A lot of it is terrain dependent, and on this map, I didn't really do him any favors, to be honest. Very open to organ guns. Timo, so the winner can choose to pick the same faction and not issue any bans, or they can pick a new faction they have not used yet and get a double ban, right? So you get a choice. And this, this time, so far, both our kings have chosen to carry their faction to the next round. Based, oh, I guess no, that's not right at all. We had Gym Kings last time. Dread Saurians already basically have an organ gun on their back. It just does poison instead of armor-piercing damage. Not really, but we do have kind of a Stegodon organ gun, which is fun. Alright, so units starting to pull up into range here. Will these Way Watchers be able to get in range of the cannons? The organ guns is what they really want to get in range of, right? Before they reveal themselves, but... they are going to get spotted here. They'll take some shots at those Quarrelers. Those Quarrelers can't regenerate, so that's definitely a good option. Orion could potentially move up and start to throw some javelins. What's his range? 140? Yeah, he does not quite outrange these Quarrelers, but he could get up here pretty close and start to throw his javelins at these Dwarf Warriors and just generate a little bit of value. And he is going to be reliant entirely on his shooting here, which is very... appropriately Wood Elf thing, but Way Watchers starting to make their presence felt. Bugman's Rangers actually taking the damage, which is, you might think is a little strange. They're kind of expensive, but in fact they have shields and they have regeneration, so they'll be able to tank that damage very efficiently in comparison to other units, but they do have to be careful not to get crossfired. Like all these Glade Guard here and the Way Watchers, if they all focus, those Bugmans, they'd be able to take them out pretty quick. Here, these Way Watchers, again, getting back and getting at the Bugman's Rangers, the Quarrelers here. I don't know about this. You really need to trade on those artillery pieces. Branch Wraith and Orion coming forward now. Ooh, nice. Nice Penumbral Pendulum there. It was overcast and did a bunch of damage to the Branch Wraith. I don't know if that was super worth it, but it is something. And over here, oh no, potential disaster. Deepwood Scouts getting caught. Oh, those are just Deepwood Scouts. Those aren't even Way Watchers. Okay. They just look like Way Watchers. Okay, maybe that's not so bad. The actual Way Watchers are up here. Although, these Deepwood Scouts could get in here and snipe these artillery pieces. That being said, we've got some Dwarf Warriors getting out of position here so they can get cross-fired in the front line. These Dwarf Warriors are, again, overextending a little bit here as they're trying to screen. As a result, they end up taking a bunch of damage. How are these Bugman's Rangers? Yeah, they did get focus fire there pretty aggressively, and even with the shields and the regeneration, just taking it straight to the face like that from 2 Way Watchers especially is a lot. Way Watchers fire and move there, or at least attempt to. Not sure where the organ guns are targeted. Let's kind of take a look here. Going after that branch wraith there, and Orion with the other one. Not sure about Orion, maybe, but probably want to turn and fire on these imminent threat of these Wild Riders here as they're starting to roll over a bunch of Rangers. Bugman's Rangers, again, they've taken a bunch of damage here. They will regenerate quite a bit of that damage, potentially, so that's why I like Bugman's in this matchup. They can tank and shoot reasonably well. Also have Charge Defense against Large, which if you can turn and brace is quite nice, but here, it's like these Dwarf Warriors basically finished. Orion's taking a severe amount of damage, but the organ guns are also starting to chew through a good amount of their ammo. These Deepwood Scouts currently hidden. Probably could get some more damage in, try and finish off some of those Bugman's Rangers models before they can regenerate too much more. It looks like they do redeploy there. The Wild Riders, though, as long as they're not getting shot by the organ guns, basically is good for them. They're going to sweep up and around and potentially try and push up on this flank, start to break up some of these other units here, maybe push through some of these gaps, but the Starfire shafts here, these Glade Guards getting taken out pretty badly. I'm not really sure. The fire in advance order maybe here? Maybe a misclick on an attack order there for those Starfire shafts. Yeah, they're going to turn around and pull back a little bit there. But the attrition game here for the Dwarfs, it's definitely in the Dwarfs' favor, right? Like, the Wood Elves can't really fight in melee at all, besides Orion. Another nice Penumbral Pendulum there, clips 2 units, getting some decent value. Wild Riders pushing through, getting those Dwarf Warriors, starting to chase them off. So, balance power still pretty close at the end of the day, but as these units chew through their ammo and get lower, it might potentially change. That being said, organ guns, they are doing decent damage. If we check in here, half XP Chevron there, almost a full XP Chevron there, so they're slowly paying for themselves, but they're not being super duper cost effective here. Wild Riders, nice punch there, take out some Quarrelers. Orion pulls away. Belagar has he does actually have a silver shield. Nice, so he can take damage there and try and block some of those shots of the Way Watchers. Small target too, so he'll be hard to make contact consistently. Here, a little bit of a mistake firing into that friendly engagement. You're going to do a lot of damage, and then the organ guns also fire in, and that might be the end of the Wild Riders right there, which is not great. They could have gotten quite a bit more value. We'll see. They might still come back. Over here, these Deepwood Scouts having a saga all of their own, just horribly inefficiently trying to deal with the Dwarf Warrior, but it is what it is. Dwarfs are slowly starting to pull ahead, as I mentioned, on the attrition, and they're taking damage, but not being able to shut down these organ guns has been a giant issue. I almost wonder if he wouldn't have deployed one of the Deepwood Scouts, like, in the back, maybe, and, like, only brought them forward. Maybe not now, maybe a little earlier, but try to take out these organ guns. But the damage on the Way Watchers in particular is pretty bad, and a lot of Wood Elf units are starting to run low on ammo. Dwarfs have been able to just take the damage to the face and weather the storm, which is something they're very good at, right? So yeah, the Slayer's also being completely healthy here, like basically untouched. It is an issue. Wood Elves are going to fight to the last here, but I think that's pretty much decided. A few more Wild Riders, yeah. Been able to push. It was a pretty wide Dwarf build with a lot of reliance on some lighter units, which is pretty common in this matchup. Yeah, I don't know. In the matchup, what can you can really do? If you had some more abilities to give AoE stock, that would be great. That would help so much in this matchup. And it's kind of weird to me that the like greenskins do, Skaven do. You would think Wood Elves and Beastmen to a lesser degree, but especially Wood Elves would also have a way to give like an AoE stock to their melee infantry. That would make like or even the Wild Riders and stuff, make those melee rush builds so much more viable so you don't just get lit up on the approach by artillery, like at least in this matchup specifically. But yeah, fun stuff. I say fun stuff as the elves get dragged through the mud, but it was a good attempt. Jay Phoenix now takes the crown. Just sipping a bit of Bugman's of my own here. And let's see who's up next. In the hill list. Looks like Golden Eagle. Pop him a note. Alright, let's go to a new map. We'll do... Let's go to Oakenhammer. Yeah, that was arguably a game. I would agree. You had some opportunities there. If you'd been able to snipe the organ guns, I think you might have had an opportunity to win that. The organ guns were too much, though. Generated a lot of value. Yeah, Wood Elves no bans is hard. Like, there are some factions you can do that with. I guess if you're confident enough with your Waywatcher play, you can do it, but someone will pick Dwarfs against you. Oh, you guys are talking about the Wood Elves update. Yeah. Very curious to see what they do. They have lore with both Dark Elves and Skaven. They don't really have lore with Lizardmen. I guess they have lore with High Elves too, but they just did High Elves, so that's out. Although I guess they did Lizardmen twice in a row, so maybe. But I don't think so. High Elves don't really have anything else to add. Dark Elves also don't really have anything else to add. Like, besides characters for both of them. Skaven are actually missing, like, the Clan Molder stuff, so if I were a betting man, my money would be on Skaven. Lothern Skycutter, I guess, yeah. I don't know that that's a unit that will be added. I don't know, and I don't think you could do a whole DLC around it. Like, they already had to make up Silverin Guard and chose not to add the Lothern Skycutter. Like, I just don't know if that's a unit that they can do. I don't know, maybe they will eventually. I mean, I'd imagine in Game 3 at some point they'll update the High Elves to have something, but I don't know. I mean, we didn't get it. Hey, Major Moolah, thanks. Toss a coin to your streamer. Much appreciated. Is the Streamlabs not connected?
In your name.
Oh, it is. I just have it. There it is. Getting a Wood Elf starting location in the Western Mainlands. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see, because I'm assuming they're going to get 2 new starting locations, right? One for the free LC Lord, and one for the DLC Lord. And it just kind of depends on... I don't know. They could do some different things, I guess. No. No. I veto this. No. Just no. No undead mirrors. Undead mirrors are banned. No, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. Just no. No one wants to see that. That's not something that anyone wants to willingly watch. How about this? I don't have the wheels set up right now, yeah. No, I refuse. No, I'm taking a personal stand here. I guess I could just roll, what, a D15? Somewhere, and then... I disagree, Timo. I don't think Lustria needs any more factions. Like, you have... okay, just for starters, you have the Lizardmen, right? Tanawin's there. Mazdamundi's kind of up at the top. You've got... Gorok is there, right? And I think that's it for their legendary lords. Maybe. Might be missing one. No, because Krokar's on the other side, so is Tic-Tac-Toe. Nakai has his weird horde thing. Okay, I think that's right. Then you also have Harkon for Vampire Coast and Silostra, right? So that's up to 6. You've got Empire bumbling around with Marcus, so that's 7. You've got Skrolk, 8. Now you add in Lokir Fellheart, 9. Okay. And Teclis, 10. On Mortal Empires, at least. Am I missing anyone? Think I got them all. So you've got 10 legendary lords crammed into Lustria, at least on Mortal Empires. It's like Lokir gets killed on turn like 3, 5 usually. Same for Skrolk. Teclis, it's like iffy if he'll survive in my campaigns. Usually also Vampire Coast ends up getting killed. Like, it's just... You have a lot of lords crammed into Lustria right now, at least on Mortal Empires. And I know that's not the same for the Vortex. There's probably stretches that are kind of empty-ish, but... It would take a sizable cash donation from someone... you know what, actually? Yes, in fact, it would take a sizable cash for me to allow that. I'm sorry, it's like, I have to. Even if it's really not as bad as I'm making it out to be, which is probably not. It can be, though. And I just can't. I can't. I gotta stand my ground, you know? I have the moral high ground on this one, and I have to stand my ground. How much does the chat have to crowdfund? Oh, it doesn't have to be that much. I would say, like... We could do, like... You know what? I'm cheap. Let's do $50. $50, we can make it happen. We've already got 2, so... And if you guys are going to contribute, I mean, you can use Super Chat, that's fine if you want to, but there is a PayPal link down in the description below that I get a greater percentage of the cut, so. But yeah, I'm Yeah, let's say 50. Come on, chat. Yeah. Yeah, because all of those, here's the problem. The Lizardmen work together to fight all of those other factions, whereas all of those other factions are also fighting each other. 10 from J Phoenix. Thanks. You're welcome, man. Doing what I can. So we're up to 12 now. Like, quarter of the way there almost.
In your name.
Okay. Now, though, we've got High Elves versus Empire. Classic, pretty classic matchup. Very interesting one. The Order Tide thing is pretty real, though. I don't know what they can really do to stop that. I don't know. Like, the campaign is in a weird place right now. It's fun, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy it. Like, I've actually been playing quite a bit lately on my own. I say quite a bit, as much as I'm able to on my own time. It's been taking me like a few months to get through an Alario campaign. But yeah, I mean, it's decent. I mean, certain factions and positions and mechanics are more interesting than others, but the Order Tide thing is pretty real, and that largely, I think, is a result of, again, the Order factions working together, while the quote-unquote, even within their own faction, like, all the Dark Elves hate the other Dark Elves, and they will rarely, if ever, confederate or unify, right? Same thing for, let's say, Skaven, right? Although Skaven, being fearful, are more apt to run for cover. Like, you can actually get, if you're playing, let's say, Snitch, you can get confederated with, like, Ikit pretty early on, if Skaven Blight gets themselves into a lot of trouble, which they tend to. Same thing for Hell Pit, right? But anyway. For the builds here today, High Elves versus Empire. Interesting High Elf build. We've got Tyrion on horseback, a Noble plus a Metal Mage, 2 Bolt Throwers, Spearmen, bunch of Silver Helms, and a couple Archers. Well, where's all the money in this High Elf build? Is this? I swear this is only like half cost. I mean, I guess Tyrion's pretty expensive, but is this? I guess this is just High Elves for you, right? Man, that's interesting. On the Empire side, we've got Archlector. Love this pick here. Can be a little bit risky, but for what he gives you, he's a super cheap support lord with super strong abilities. Probably one of the best support lords in the game. Outside of, obviously, Volkmar, who's big brother. But Demogryph Knights with halberds, 2 Lance Demis as well. Empire Knights, Spearmen with shields. Distinct lack of Pistoliers, but we do have silver bullets. And a couple of Martyrs. Decent choice. No worries, man, no worries. I can sit and talk about this game for hours, and I plan to. By the way, for those of you guys, I made a couple posts on Twitter about it recently, but today, actually this morning, I had a meeting with my company for my day job. Just kind of the situation report, I guess, of where things are at. I work in the restaurant industry, for those of you guys who don't know, which obviously the Rona has absolutely devastated. And thankfully, the company I work for is mid-size. It's not huge, but it's also not super small. And the leadership has been really effective in trying to keep things going as much as possible. And like, I work on the corporate level making graphic design elements and stuff. So for now, like, my role's potentially going to be somewhat reduced. Like, I think I'll have less work overall. And I'm also getting a pay cut as well, which is understandable, given the situation. Like, I'm happy to. I'm in a pretty decent financial situation myself right now, like, just in terms of having a good safety net and everything. But what that means more importantly for the channel is hopefully I'll have more time to dedicate to making content for you guys. Because over the past summer, like, honestly, I expected to have more time than I had, which is good. Like, it's good that I had work to do. It's a good sign for the company, and it helps keep me busy. But I haven't been able to put in nearly as much time as I would have liked, especially in covering, like, the new Three Kingdoms DLC. I got a key for it, and I feel really bad. Didn't stream any of it. I plan to still, and, like, Troy, too. Didn't cover as much as I would have liked, and I still plan to, again, make videos about that. But now, especially like streaming more often is something I definitely want to do. I've been talking about it for a while, and I do think the Warhammer stream is just going to stay here. Other streams will be on Twitch, but yeah, hopefully that means I would love to say daily streams. That's a pretty tall order, but if I can manage it, daily streams, absolutely, obviously, daily battle content will continue. Hopefully, I'll also be able to do some more produced content. But anyway, talking about the actual battle unfolding here, front lines have clashed somewhat. The spearmen actually taking quite a bit of damage from the mortars. The mortars are taking shots, though, from the bolt throwers. Keep in mind, the whole time that the bolt throwers are shooting at the mortars, they're not shooting at these demigryph knights, which are a way more valuable target. Demigryph knights are absolutely going to shred all of the cavalry here for the High Elves if they get good engagements. Here, though, this is a really nice engagement. Golden Eagle, rather. Overcast Plague of Rust there on those Demigryph Knights. A Noble charges in along with Tyrion, and together they just wreck this unit of Demigryph Knights. Really nicely done with these two armor-piercing characters and the Silverhelm support. The rest of the build is kind of getting rolled up, though, to a degree. Silverhelms over here were able to come in and get a pretty good engagement on those Demigryph Knights with halberds, at least on the charge. Obviously, when the Demigryph Knights turn around and start to fight with their halberds, they will wreck these Silverhelms pretty efficiently. Likewise, the Wood Elf infantry lines collapsing pretty badly, and the mortars have been doing really effective damage. I say only 24 kills there, but at least the disruption in and of itself is nice. Oh man, these Demigryph Knights got to be careful, though. Yeah, you definitely want to avoid taking the engagement with Tyrion and the Noble nearby if you can. Golden Eagle's Metal Mage is going to now push through. Bolt Thrower crew trying to get to safety will get wrecked by those Demigryph Knights. But this Bolt Thrower crew, the Spearmen, it looks like, might have pulled an attack order off of those Silverhelms. Those Silverhelms don't have shields. They're going to take some fire from the Silver Bullets as they charge across. Silver Bullets versus Silverhelms. So we got some silver on silver action here. Let's just appreciate this charge for a moment. Bullets do what they can, but the Helms are going to push and get a nice charge there, shut them down. There's still a lot of state troops fighting, and Balance Power is pretty much dead even after a bunch of slugging. So here, Archlector's pulling away. He had the Shield of Faith active, but a potentially dangerous situation for this blob of Silver Helms as they're now getting collapsed on by Demigryph Knights and Empire Knights. Demigryph Knights do get a good charge, but Tyrion and the Noble now turn around, start to help. The Empire Spearmen being here is also nice, but there are also High Elf Spearmen in the engagement as well now following up. So actually the Empire, I said that was going to be a good engagement for them, but nice Plague of Rust placement as well. On those Demigryph Knights, it's interesting. Demigryph Knights actually don't have that good a sustained combat stats. They're actually, for the cost, like, really not great. And using that Plague of Rust to respond to that, very, very good stuff. I like that a lot. So Jay Phoenix kind of on the ropes a little bit here, but he does have a lot of state troop infantry left. And look at this, still more healthy Demigryph Knights back here. These two Lance Demis have kind of reunified after having absolutely made mincemeat of some of those other Silverhelms. So it's definitely not completely out of reach. These Demigryph Knights also just came back from rout here. These halberds can come back in, and you see how these nicely done. Golden Eagle's going to notice that, immediately retarget his archers there. These swordsmen also potentially could come back and start to make a mess in this back line. But Spearmen here getting a little bit caught out. Sigmar's Son's going to get a nice engagement on these Spearmen and prevent them from getting their bracing bonus. Here, Archlector's pushing. He's going to get that Bolt Thrower crew, start to shut it down. As the Knights now push through as well, they can get support buffs from him. He should have that Hammer of Sigmar off of cooldown. But here we go. Demi's collapsing. Silverhelms are going to take the charge. Another Plague of Rust, very nicely placed on those Demigryph Knights. You can see the damage coming in. It's very, very good. Can the Lore of Life respond in time? We do have an Earthblood there. Did not actually hit those wounded demis, unfortunately, instead of hitting these healthier units, which, you know, it's nice to kind of top them off there a little bit. But both these players playing very well to their support as much as possible. We've got a little bit of Empire infantry coming in here. The Sigmar's Sons, 95 kills, have been getting absolute work done. Yeah, I think, honestly, yeah, use the Empire Knights to kind of break a little bit here. I've been very surprised how well this Plague of Rust is done. 3 demis is pretty deep, and especially with the support buffs and everything. But yeah, while you have these, I think it's a little bit of a mistake here by J Phoenix, I would say, while you have these Empire Knights in here, you want to try and come around and get a rear charge with the demis, and take the Silver Helms out that way. This kind of weird, almost like an anti-demi blob in a way, that's made of Silver Helms and Tyrion, and the Noble, of course, giving some elite anti-large AP, and they can consistently snipe off unit models, right? Just continuously pick away. Demigryph Knights, forget how much HP they have per model. You guys would have to double check me on that, but a nice bombardment there. That Searing Doom, likewise, we haven't seen it be used against the Demigryph Knights much, but it can be used absolutely on any cavalry units, to be honest. But balance power still very, very close. We've still got this one healthy unit of demis. All he needs is one good engagement here. Finish off these Silver Helms. It is going to be hard to kill Tyrion and the Noble, though, regardless. With all the faith buffs, though, here we go. Light raining down on the foul elves. Those Silver Helms lancing. The Demigryph Knights, though, just completely outnumbered here, are going to have to pull away, and look at the damage. So far, this one still almost completely healthy, but oh no, now the Archlector's stuck. These Demigryph Knights need to get back in there as soon as possible. Try and bail the Archlector out before it gets mauled by Tyrion. But things are starting to inch back in the Empire's favor a little bit here as the mortar shots run in. That will quickly change, though, if this Archlector gets taken out. And yeah, these Demigryph Knights way over chasing here, way out of position, and need to just stay high and tight here and cycle charge this blob a little bit, rather than going way over here out into the boondocks to chase archers. Like, maybe send the caster out there, but all these Demigryph Knights needed to be in this engagement, and I think that's kind of been a lot of J Phoenix's issue here. He had a really good build, but he keeps getting caught out to where his Demigryph Knights get too far away and don't rear charge that blob, you know, while the debuffs and stuff are active on another unit. But here, now Tyrion is getting himself overextended, and with the Demigryph Knights chasing, oh man, but he actually kills the Archlector there. Yeah, that's definitely worth it. I don't know. That might be GG for the Empire. They're going to start to have general leadership issues, and the Demigryph Knights, yeah, they can't really fight Tyrion without support. Like, he'll just kill their unit models, and nice Plague of Rust here. Takes a charge to the face with the Silver Helms, so beautiful build. Credit to Golden Eagle there. Those Silver Helms immediately get devoured after they get that charge, but hey, that was some nice little damage right there. Just a couple key mistakes, I think. It was very close even until that late game, but I would say definitely chasing off those archers was a critical error, and how do you avoid doing that? He had kept keep those Demigryph Knights high and tight here, come back in, rear charge on those Silver Helms, and then once Tyrion's all alone, then you can get a good surround and take him out. But it's a tough one. Yeah, Timo, I agree. I do think they should show shields on the icons. Yeah, that's something that I've actually had some discussions with them about in the past, but they chose not to do it for Troy for whatever reason. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time, but really nice build from Golden Eagle here, despite not having any terror. Using that Plague of Rust and the Silver Helms kind of in a little Doom blob with Tyrion to counter demis. I like that quite a bit. On the flip side, I think for the Empire, I'd probably cut the second unit of Demigryph Knights, or yeah, the demis with halberds rather. I would cut. Mortars are okay in this matchup. I'm not personally the biggest fan of artillery, but going with this same build, I would say even just cut these Demigryph Knights, bring 2 more Empire Knights to give you a little bit more volume of heavy cavalry. Yeah, or alternately, you could bring a warrior priest plus maybe a couple of other extra auxiliary tools like some pistoliers. That way the warrior priest can run with one demi lance, the archlector can run with another demi lance. You have kind of two mobile hit squads, or run them all together. You have double layering of buffs that you can use one after the other, or even if you get caught in a really bad situation like popping both of the damage resistance buffs at the same time. Could have got some good value in that way. But yeah, I mean, he had all the tools he needed in terms of winning the game. It was just no Gjorsmir. Yeah, sorry, J Phoenix. It was a good one, though. It was a good one. We've had some absolute scraps today. So, looks like we are having some people drop, and I'll have to include some people here. Yeah, that's fine. Next up, Ice Power went to the bottom, potentially, so... okay, and yeah, Duco. Okay. Yes, I have the right to veto any undead mirror. It's constitutionally written. Other mirrors are not banned. If you want a dwarf mirror, that's... some people would argue that's more boring, but at least your units can break and route. So there's some kind of tactical element to it in that way. Not like, you know, coast versus coast, where you literally just stand there and shoot each other. Gorson 8 corpse cards. Oh, man. We've seen that replay, J Phoenix. I have uploaded that replay. I can tell you exactly how it's gonna go. No one wins. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this here. Seems like he might be AFK. I'm not 100% sure, so... get Hydra's in here. Potentially. We'll see. Yes, Hadris is coming. Looks like he's playing Crusader Kings 3, which I have not picked up yet. You guys let me know if that's something you'd want to see me play on the channel. I was going to reach out to them to see if I could get a key, but I just didn't because... yeah, just didn't. I don't know. I should contact, though. See if I can get some contacts. Get a free key, because that would be better than buying it, obviously. And I would love to bring it to you guys. I don't know if I do have to buy it. Like, if I can't get contact to get a key, I don't know if I'll actually pay it, just because my financial situation is a little bit tight here. Well, it's not super tight. Like, it's not bad. I wouldn't say. I just have to be a little careful, and I don't know. The non-Total War games are a little bit riskier for me to buy, like, for the channel. And granted, I would probably buy it and play it for myself at some point in the future. But, you know, full price on release, I don't know if I can really justify that. Have I ever played Skyrim? Okay. Can I show you Steam right now? I don't think I can. So if we go to Steam, maybe I can. I would just like to show you how much I've played Skyrim. Here we go, window capture. Oh, can you guys not actually see my Steam stuff while the game's running? That's silly. Anyway, what I was going to show you is Skyrim here. Between Skyrim regular and Skyrim Special Edition, I have like almost 600 hours in Skyrim. Yeah, in fact, over 600 hours in Skyrim. Yep. Right. Yeah, that's true, probably. Midlife crisis multiplies. You know what? No, really, because I'll say this: I enjoyed the heck out of Skyrim, and for me, like time spent doing something into that I enjoy is not necessarily time wasted. Now, do I wish I would have started my channel a lot long ago, like a long time ago, when I actually originally had the idea to, which is during the time that I was playing Skyrim. And yes, um yeah, I at that point was thinking, should I start a channel? I don't know if I'd be in the same place I am today, so maybe it's good that I didn't start it then, but yeah, maybe I would have been able to benefit from all that time that I spent playing it. Yeah. Well, not for eons, and I would say probably not ever. Just because I don't know about the trend that Bethesda's going in right now. Like, we'll see how much longer they last as a developer. Yeah. I mean, obviously we haven't seen much from Starfield recently, but Bethesda as a brand, you know, Bethesda the publisher and Bethesda as the studio both have kind of dragged themselves through the mud over the past few years. So, I don't know. And then obviously, right now, Creative Assembly is way too busy just absolutely milking Warhammer for all of its worth, and I would imagine that that relationship is profitable between both Games Workshop and Creative Assembly, that we could see, I legit think we could see like a 40K World War, or, yeah. Yeah, or maybe even Age of Sigmar, like way down the line. But I think, honestly, probably because I don't know that they're just going to dissolve this fantasy team, right? Like, when Warhammer 3 is all said and done, which is probably going to be in, like, realistically, like 3-4 years, I would say. Depends on how long they want to keep making DLC. But at some point, they are going to move on to a new fantasy title. Golden Eagle, if you look there, the rules are actually, I posted about this, the rules are on the Discord. Okay, let's actually get some music going in the meantime. I might go grab a drink of water real quick, guys. Oh, that was kind of sudden. My apologies. I'll be right back. Yeah, Yuri, actually, if you go to... In some of the community discords, I'd have to track it down. Maybe I can later, or someone else can, but there are some lists floating around of good maps, basically, that you can use to let you know, and then build them into, like, a random generator somehow. Yeah, there are some community resources of maps that kind of tell you which maps are good for multiplayer, which ones aren't. As for 40k, I mean, you say that Total War isn't the best actual innovation. You say that it's not the best platform and that they would have to do innovations, but would they? I mean, if they're recreating the tabletop, then, I mean, like, things have hilariously short range in tabletop, right? And granted, the artillery would obviously have a lot longer range, but they've done shooting Total Wars in the past, right? Like, if you play... Napoleon's probably the best, or Fall of the Samurai for Shogun too, but obviously Empire's a big one too. Total War Empire, so yeah, any of those, like, they have done shooting Total Wars in the past. Granted, it's with line infantry and, you know, so on. It's not with fully automatic weapons and everything, but considering the innovations they've already made for Total War Warhammer with stuff like Ratling guns, like, we've seen a lot of the sort of gunpowder and aspect of improved quite a bit through Warhammer. And if they're recreating the tabletop, like, other than units not being in formation in 40k, there's really not that much difference to Total War when you break things down in a, like, very mechanical way. I think it could be done. I absolutely think it could be done. Like, it, especially because, like, Dawn of War's done. That franchise may never come back, right? It's over. So, like, they need some 40k RTS, and actually, like, they would have to adapt it, I think, in terms of giving units formations, implementing some cover system of some kind. I don't know. They would have to do some innovations. I agree on that point. But I don't think it would be as hard as most people think. Bob, if you post it here, let me tell you what. If you post it, if you just PM it to me on Discord, I can post it, or you can post it on my server under... I might actually have it here. No. Yeah, you could post it under community resources or just PM it to me. I don't know if the YouTube auto moderator will allow me to let you post links, because you're not technically allowed to post links. Hey, Rubber Duck of War, what's up? Okay. Let's see what we got here. Empire again, this time against Bretonia. So, I'd imagine we'll see, yep, Volkmar plus Warrior Priest, a couple of Empire Knights here, some infantry, 2 Hellblaster volley guns. Alright. Okay, clearly Golden Eagle's on some next level strat right here. Got some demis as well, a column of demis. Yeah, Amethyst Wizard. Lore of Spirit Leech. And King Lewin plus a Lore of Manticores. Questing Knights here. Got some Trebuchets, Peasant Mobs, ROR Battle Pilgrims. Interesting, are the only, like, real infantry here, and everything else is a mob. And then, yeah, tons of Questing Knights, Knights of the Realm. Pretty straightforward build, not a lot to heal. Other than Lewin, which heals himself. So I get the Lore of Manticore's pick here. This nice cheap Flock of Doom Manticore summons. No stank, which is, no stank. But look at the positioning here, utilizing this terrain. So getting good lines of sight is very important, obviously with direct line of fire artillery. And I don't think that's a safe place to stand, guys. Like, something tells me you probably shouldn't be standing there, but man, they must have retextured the artillery dudes' uniforms when they did the DLC, because this looks kind of good, actually. Like, look at that R. Like, this classy shirt, man, I want one of these. Alright, I'm officially going to contact someone to make me this outfit, because I would love an Empire artillery crewman's outfit, but yeah, dudes, don't stand there. The Battle of the One-Trick Pony lores, yeah, basically. Oh, geez, I didn't realize the music was still playing. Wow, that kind of startled me. I think they teach you the first day of artillery school that you don't stand in front of the cannon? I don't know.
I dreamt of a comet last night.
Did you dream of a comet, or did you dream of getting blasted by your friends? Now here, the blessed trebuchets are going to come in handy because they significantly outrange the meme blasters. Oh yeah, I love the Bretonnian Blessed Field Trebuchet models too. Like, oh, they look so nice. You got like this writ here, which you can totally actually read. Now, these glowing stones, blessed by the lady. So far, they're only hitting Sigmar Sons, which is a pretty decent target, granted. But Overcast Spirit Leech there, go long range against the Blessed Field Trebuchets. Doesn't quite finish off a unit model, but gets pretty close. He can now pull back in. The Overcast damage is a little rough. Kind of not a lot you can do about that, unfortunately, in multiplayer. But he's going to come forward now. Oh yeah. Blessed blobs of holy bathwater coming in the back line, making contact on the crew there. Doing some decent damage so far, though. Mostly unscathed on the meme blasters. See how long that can last. They're going to start blasting peasants, which, that's, using the ammo. Yeah, no, a little bit of a rough situation here for the meme blasters. But VOLKMAR can start to roll through, roll up some of these peasants. One volley there, and now the meme blasters coming forward. They definitely want to try and go after any cavalry here is going to be good targets for them. They really don't need to get a lot of shots to pay for themselves, so see what they can do. VOLKMAR also rolling up in the front line here. You can see Lewin's kind of mirroring him somewhat. A lot of units pushing out to the flank, though. Empire, because their numbers are a little bit thinner, yeah, they're going to have to redeploy those cavalry up there and potentially leave themselves open now to more questing knights. Although I don't know if they necessarily need to worry about the meme blasters trying to take them out in melee. I think these cavalry can largely dedicate to fighting the Empire directly. Obviously, these are still the Empire. You know what I mean. Just fighting in melee, I guess. Knights of the Realm, though, sweeping up and back. But yeah, you can see already one meme blaster down. Peasants obviously getting broken very, very quickly. Here comes a Manticore charge. A little bit aggressive on that Manticore charge. But the Demigryph Knights actually don't stand and fight there, which they absolutely should stand and fight with the Warrior Priest there. Keep the Warrior Priest from taking too much damage. Right now, he hasn't got hit too hard yet. The Manticore didn't get the best engagement, it looks like. Over here, though, these Questing Knights probably got a really good engagement against those Spearmen. Southern Blaster is operational. Getting some shots, looks like, or at least attempting to get some shots on the Questing Knights there. Demigryph Knights kind of interrupting them a little bit, but yeah, it's so far so good. Hadra's rolling through, getting really nice engagements with these Questing Knights here. The Warrior Priest still just kind of left to hung out to dry against the Manticore, which is not great, but Banishment being used in the backline here to try and finish off this Trebuchet that is pretty damaged. It's almost gone, but they've largely dealt with the Hellblasters for a pretty decent cost, and now they can try and turn their attention to Demigryph Knights, start to finish off their unit models. VOLKMAR is still a danger, obviously, but Lewin's got him in his clutches. His claws wrapped around the pimp wagon, absolutely shaking it to bits. Just demanding the steak be put back on the grill and be well done, sir. You got the, I don't know. I was going to try and figure out a way to get these Holy Wardens flaming swords in the restaurant metaphor somehow, but I don't know. I guess they got flaming skewers of, I don't know, flambe or something. Trying to deliver it to Volkmar. Anyway, take an overarching look here. You can see Empire's a little bit on the ropes. They do finally get off here, get it here in the back and finish off some of these trebuchets, but it's obviously quite late. Maybe even just leaving the Hellblasters back for a good amount of time would have been decent, but it's a fun pick, absolutely. I wouldn't say Hellblasters are meta in any matchups, I don't think. Maybe Wood Elves, you could make an argument that they're kind of like organ guns, but they're objectively not as good as organ guns. And, yeah, obviously you would want cannons here, but... Brazilian barbecue joke, there we go. Actually work for a Brazilian steakhouse, funny enough. But if you're a meat server at a Brazilian barbecue comes around and the skewer is literally on fire, they're not doing it right. Just saying that something somewhere went horribly wrong. But yeah. The Warrior Priest somehow survived that gooning attempt and is here now fighting with the Sigmar's sons. Maybe the Empire can start to stabilize this a little bit, but things are just looking so rough. Lewin's so healthy. Yeah, Volkmar goes down. That is a critical blow. Leadership of the Empire, they're very quickly going to start to rout. Amethyst Wizard routs while facing a routing damsel. Oof, gets blessed by the lady. Must just be the Sigmar sons fighting the Holy Wardens. Man, this is a cool engagement right here. Holy Wardens of Lamaisenthal against the Sigmar sons. Like, no, the lady. No, Sigmar. No, the lady. Volkmar's Soulfire is just literally a glorified shower. Take a bath, you filthy peasants. Oh, yeah. Good stuff. Have a look here. See you there, Ice Power. So we'll go ahead, and I already promised Dukos the next game since he was AFK, but I'll have you on after Dukos. So actually, I also think I'm gonna maybe save that last replay. I don't know. I've already casted a game about trebuchets. I don't know if I necessarily need to do the Blessed one separately. What is the game name? I don't even remember. Uh-oh, Hadris has assumed his true form and has gone to Skaven. Gonna be in for a fun time now. And that is... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you gotta have the bulge. You gotta have the bulge. So they know, right? They know. Even as they're charging the artillery crew, they know. Sterling's Revenge, you see them still occasionally. Missile infantry in general, like, outside of certain matchups, is hard to keep protected unless you have a lot of volume of it. And like regular Free Company are pretty good because they're reasonably good at shooting, they're reasonably good at fighting, they're pretty cost effective in that they have 90 unit models, and you know, you can kind of throw them in a lot of different situations, but they're not amazing. The Sterling's Avenge are even better at fighting, but still at that price range, and because they have such short range, it's kind of tough. They often end up getting horribly killed, but the armor piercing damage is really good that they do. So yeah, I don't know, honestly. Personally, as an Empire player, I can tell you, for me, I prefer to have mobile skirmishers, which is why you'll primarily see me with mounted missile units, or you know, obviously war wagons being included in that. But yeah, like that's, I think, the main reason why, is because it's hard to protect infantry skirmishers, and even though they do have decent stats, and so, like, let's say against vampire counts, for example, there's an argument to be made there, perhaps, or even Tomb Kings or Coast. Coast, especially, given that you can go on a really aggressive Vanguard, have some kind of armor-piercing option to go with your Huntsman and regular Free Company. But, let's see. I am... Cool. Let's do this. Need to get a player added here. Uh-oh. Steam doing this again? Steam's been having some issues, man, lately with trying to add people. Let's see. Oh, it opened all of the tabs in the browser. That's amazing. Dobbs love a Pistler's too great to take Free Company. That's the truth. All right. Let's see this here. And yeah, then after that, we're gonna have Ice Power coming up. And just looking through the rest of the list here, Ludwig had to drop, so we've got Gabo. I could probably get Up Mule in here. Okay, so we've got that, and great. Thank you guys so much, by the way. It was kind of a spur of the moment. Obviously, the meeting this morning, I didn't know how long it was going to go, so I kind of just got up and went, and when it wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be, and I didn't need to stay there for anything else, I was just like, I think I have anything else to do today. Let's just go do a quick King of the Hill stream for all of you. Like I said, really hoping now that I can start to do this more consistently. Literally louder than Greenskin's wall. Yeah, I have it a little bit too close to the mic right now. Like, usually I would have it positioned kind of back here, and then you shouldn't hear it as much, but yeah. Oh man, it's warm in here though. Whew. I'll just take my shirt off. Why am I wearing a collared shirt right now? I'm not professional. I mean, I am in some ways, but also not. Yeah, it is very warm in here. I need to go turn AC on, I guess. It's been really nice here the past few days. Summer's starting to release its grip. We're gonna have a beautiful fall, I think. Nice thing about where I live, like a lot of places, you know, like the winter's horrible. It never really gets too warm. Like here where I'm at, it's pretty temperate. Like, we have pretty extremes in terms of seasons. Like, you get both winter and summer here. Pretty intense. Not as intense as other places, though. And the best thing is you get the glorious, most beautiful spring and fall both. Like, just perfect. Absolutely perfect. I'm very excited. It is officially September, so I'm taking his shirt off, so Nesha approves. Yeah, good thing I don't have a webcam going. It's not that type of stream. Just don't go looking for my OnlyFans. There definitely is not one. Yep. Cool. So, let's go ahead and get a new map locked in. We'll do Schwarzhofen. Okay, and they're ready to go. Beastmen versus Skaven should be a fun one. Hadra's coming in with the classy Skaven in black. I don't know why, man. The factions with like the black and white or black and gold color scheme, like they just look so fancy. That's definitely my favorites. Like Hargoneth, Izalithnar's faction, Nagarythe. Obviously these Skaven too, like Azag's orcs, like the Bone Rattlers, all the factions with like the black and gold or the black and white color scheme. I am a fan. I need one of those calendars, but every month is Dov. Aw, thanks. Yeah, Hadra's. I love watching Hadra's play Skaven. He's like his builds are pretty on point, I would say. In this combination here, I've been seeing him use this quite a bit recently. He's got a Doom Wheel plus a Hell Pit plus a Plague Furnace, so you kind of got a variety selection, one of each kind of single entity monster that the Skaven have access to. I guess you don't have the Bell technically, but Bell in most rule sets does not count as a monster. Actually, no, I think it does now that I stop and think about it. But anyway, we've got the Furnace, and then of course Snitch plus an Assassin. So in all actuality, you've got like these two combined to be like basically, you know, a top tier combat character on foot. You've got the Plague Priest to do AoE damage, anti-large and tanking of the Hell Pit with its healing, and the Mobile Terror and charge of the Doom Wheel. So you kind of got all your bases covered, to be honest. And then, of course, basically like Mortis Engine that you can use at long range, or a Plague Furnace you can use at long range, is the Globadiers. Yes, yes. Poison, Wind, Mortars even. You use the little globes out of these big old tubes. If you don't know, now you know. We've also got some Storm Vermin, Sword and Shield Storm Vermin, very interesting choice. Skaven Slave Spears. Council Guard, yep. So a couple of Storm Vermin, especially the Sword and Shield Storm Vermin, I'm a fan of. Pretty underrated unit, to be honest. And on the Beastmen side, we've got, a Cygor. That's kind of a wild pick in this matchup, right? Because you would think, this is some mind games. Were you ready for this? So you would think, like, Skaven are going to bring artillery, and they have the power to stop, you know, an artillery monster, certainly, like Warp Lightning Cannons plus Giselles will wreck this guy. But they tend not to bring those units against Beastmen because Beastmen are obviously very fast and have aggressive Vanguard tools, can easily shut down those type of ranged units. So, as like the counter pick to the counter pick, next level 5D chess mind game, you bring the Cygor to throw rocks at the mortar. And the Cygor rock, I think it does enough damage to kill the mortar models outright, which is good. That's what you want. So let's see how it goes. That is some 5D pick right there. As for the rest of the builds, yeah, I've got some spawns here. Morgar for more spawns. Plenty of hounds in the back line. Some Razorgore Herds for armor piercing. Raiders for ranged. And spears up front. So a nice kind of balanced Beastman build. Lore of Beasts for that balance. Manticores incoming. Lots of summons. Yeah, I like it. Lore of X. Oh, the Skaven lores are Lore of X, though. See? Like, this one is Lore of Plague. And then they have Lore of Ruin. And Lore of Stealth. So it is Lore of something, yeah. Yeah, the Cygor, it could throw at the Storm Vermin. Throwing at the Council Guard is definitely a good idea because they're unbreakable, obviously. The more you can take out their models, the better. But I would absolutely throw at the Mortars as a priority target. So they can kill literally your entire army. Now, they are a pretty small footprint, so the Cygor throwing rocks at them might not be the most accurate thing in the world, but I would probably stick with it, personally. I mean, throwing at the Storm Vermin is also a good target, though. Those Council Guard. They just aren't as big of a threat in terms of the unit's role. Like, the Mortar's role is to kill everything, literally. Kill all of the infantry and cav, and then let the single entities kill the other single entities. And that's basically it. But the Mortars are going to pull up into range here, and now the Beastmen, they could kind of obliquely shift up and start to engage here. Hadras, though, going to summon up some Clan Rats here, start to rush them in. The Ungor Spears could probably beat them even, but Raiders come forward to start unloading there a little bit. That Mortar is going to start making contact, and that'll put Beastmen on a timer somewhat. Here, Razorgore Herds charging out with their armor-piercing damage. Going to try and get a hold of that Doom Wheel here. They do catch a lot of the Skaven slaves mostly. They don't really get a great charge in here. Doom Wheel's able to pretty much slip away. The Hounds come in, and they're going to break the Skaven slaves very quickly. Maybe they'll be able to disengage and get through there. But meanwhile, over here, Spawn come through. They push off the summoned Clan Rat there just fine. And yeah, it looks like already down to 6 models. So the problem with the Mortars, though, is even if they only have 1 model left, they can still apply the debuff and do a ton of damage from the damage over time effect. But certainly it does make them less accurate the more models you can kill. And another solid shot there kills off another model. So I definitely would stick with that as much as you can. And just try and hold this front line in the meantime. Avoid taking too much damage. But nice engagement here on the Doom Wheel. Got Spawn moving in for a surround, a Summon Manticore also in here. Granted, Snitch is fighting. He's going to be able to help support this Doom Wheel pretty efficiently, but it's a decent engagement. Certainly the Spawn are getting some good damage in. It's not looking as good for the Beastmen as I originally thought, but this is great. Now the Poison Wind Mortars are shut down. Oh, the Poison Warhounds get caught, though, by the Hell Pit Abomination. That's rough, man. If Dukos is on it. Yep, quickly notice. Oh, but they get terrified just barely there. That is unfortunate. He should get them back, though, and be able to push up and around the side and to get back at that, though. Meanwhile, Ungor Raiders kind of hanging back. You could probably push them up, start to work on this Plague Priest here. The Plague Priest can't regenerate, so all the work you get done on him is, you know, true damage, so to speak. Now the Cygor switches on to the Council Guard there. But a little bit close to the edge of the line here. Though these Chaos Warhounds should be able to get up and through the side, though. Maybe. If they don't get caught by these Skaven slaves here. Might actually end up getting caught. But I don't know. They might win that engagement anyway also. The Blob engagement's kind of getting started in the front line a little bit here. Skaven definitely trying to play to the Blob. But the Beastmen not really pulling into it too much. They've got quite a bit of resources out here, kind of clipping the wings, clipping the flanks. The Hounds also running around in the back line, making sure a lot of these routing units can't come back. This is nice, keeping those Blackhorns Ravagers in reserve, keeping them safe from the mortar and everything else. The Doom Wheels, now they come in. They're going to fight this Summon Clan Rat here and keep them from getting in the Archers. But this is a good situation potentially for the Beastmen. If he can pull these Archers back, get a nice concave, start focusing the Hell Pit, those Raiders will do super cost-effective damage there. But it's interesting. The frontline engagement, these Spawn are trading just so well into all of this Skaven infantry. They're such an absolute menace. The Plague Priest kind of comes over here. And the Doom Wheel... Honestly, the Cygor probably could fight the Doom Wheel in melee right now. Use that Warp Gaze and just go fight the Doom Wheel in melee with the support of these Hounds and such. Unfortunately, the Beastcaster does get horribly assassinated here. Morgur is safely over on this other side. And we can see out in the periphery, the Beastmen are doing their best to keep those Skaven units routing. But yeah, there we go. Warp Gaze, just like that. Use the Hounds and the Spears. The Cygor can come do a stomp attack. Come on. Come on, buddy. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. There we go. Step on the Doom Wheel a little bit there. Try and get it routed off, and then use the Hounds to chase it off. Very nicely done there. The Hell Pit obviously is still going to be a huge problem, though. I mean, that's one single entity dealt with, but you've still got multiple very tough single entities to kill in this late game. Cleaning up all these support units, though, Duko's been doing a great job of that, pursuing with the... Yeah, now here, like, that Doom Wheel is shattered. That's great value there. I have more slip can also still fight here. I almost might throw rocks point blank. Look at these Sword and Shield Storm Vermin, though. These guys could prove very critical in this late game. They're fighting Blackhorns Ravagers just fine. Yeah, a lot of resources. Again, there's a lot of resources in chaff for the Skaven that can get pushed away. These Storm Vermin getting pretty low here. Focus fired by the Ungor Raiders, but the Ungor Raiders are not focusing on the Hell Pit, which I think could end up being a pretty big mistake potentially in the late game. But look at this. This Skaven Assassin gets terrified. Morgar is fighting Snitch, though, which is something he does not want to be doing by any means. Morgar, I mean, he has regeneration and decent enough stats, but he will die to Snitch, no problem. So, yeah, he's pulling back to the safety of his spawn there. You can see the Eye of Morsleep having to fight. The Hell Pit Abomination's not great for him, but the Spawn come in. Spawn will actually trade really nicely against Snitch with their high weapon damage. If they can get a good surround on him, get him poisoned, just keep him bogged down. I think the Beastmen are in a pretty good position. Hadra's definitely not out of this, especially with the Plague Priest and all of these single entities still being online. The drain from the Plague Priest is going to be pretty real, but he really needs to try and finish off the Storm Vermin, though. Unbreakable Storm Vermin just chatting up through the lines, keeping those Ungor Raiders from being able to get set and get firing easily. And I don't know, maybe the Beastmen are going to start to run out of steam a little bit here. I have Morsleep getting bullied somewhat by the Plague Priest. Morgar's regenerated quite a bit of his HP, is coming back. Snitch is also taking some damage. Oh man, this is nice. Warp Gaze on Snitch as he's being circle beaten, so he can't disengage, and then come step on him with the Cygor. Oh man, that's going to do quite a bit of damage to him. Morgar's also coming in now to support this engagement. If they can finish off Snitch here, this will be an absolute win for the Beastmen. The Skaven are going to have major leadership issues, but Snitch should be able to sneak away there, maybe. Is he going to get blocked in by his own Plague Priest, though? You can see here, the Spawn actually have him locked in here, plus Morgar up against the Plague Priest. He is actually going to probably be able to disengage. Oh, but he gets a good hit on Morgar. Suddenly things turning around. The Warp Gaze and other effects there are doing a ton of damage to Morgar here. You can see the Hell Pit Abomination also got that healing proc at the same time, and now Morgar gets routed off, so the Skaven very quickly turn that around. Will Snitch be able to stick around, though? He's very low on HP. Has to be feeling the leadership hit there as well. And now Morgar is going to get chased off by the cart. Even though he's snared in place, the cart is just continuously, pushing him. Oh man, it's going to be close. Look at this, almost completely healthy unit of Razorgore herds comes back in the late game. They're going to rear charge, try and rear charge this Plague Priest if they can. Unfortunately, they got just barely tagged by Snitch there, which is able to break their attack order. But maybe even just going in after Snitch, yeah, using their big weapon damage against him, honestly, to try and finish him off, get him routed. Oh, is Snitch going to go? Snitch gets routed here, and the Hell Pit also very low on leadership. This Eye of Morsleep here has been able to fight with the support of the Spawn and the Spears here. Oh man, it's so close. Another healing proc, though, on the Hell Pit Abomination does take it up to its healing cap. I don't think that the Beastmen have enough tools to chase it off. Of course, as soon as I say that, look at this. From the periphery, the glorious hounds, the best boys, the doggos of the Beastmen, coming to save the day. And I think I might have to save this one and talk about Warhounds. I need a bunch of replays for Warhounds, to be honest, because I would like to feature one for each faction. Just kind of talk about the units in general, but here they have done a great job in supporting and chasing units off, which is super, super critical in this matchup especially. Yeah, man, now it looks like it's just the Council Guard fighting. The Plague Priest gets routed here. I have more sleep. Oh man, that's what I need in my life. But yeah, like this is one of the best Hound games I think I've ever seen, man. And Hadris is a really good player. Duco's playing out of his mind here. That was awesome, man. Great game to both players. Hadris pushing, scrapping up in that front line, doing his best, but the pick of I think something that's pretty critical here is getting the Doom Wheel off the field. And then, obviously, the Hound's running rampant here. Oh, my goodness. Look at that. 154, 92, 230 kills on those Razorgore herds, man. Great utilization of the mobility there. I have more slid. Like I said, I really like kind of the double mind game pick of that here to take on mortars specifically, which it was able to do. And then also very key in supporting the melee engagements, finishing off the Doom Wheel, throwing rocks at the Storm Vermin, helping to finish off Snitch there, doing a bunch of damage to him and the Plague Priest and the Hell Pit. Like, just absolutely amazing. Oh, am I getting rated by Legend right now? What's up, guys? Oh, man, that's fun. Yeah, that was a crazy finish right there. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Whew. Man. Good stuff. Okay. Get that in here. We'll get the next competitor in here. Oh, what's up? Wow, I feel so... my channel's very small. I feel kind of, like, flattered that Legend notices me. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't watch your content, Legend, but I love what you did with that charity stream the other day. Man, that was one of the coolest things I've seen in the Warhammer community for a while. So, big ups on that. And, yeah. Yeah, man, when I'm casting, I'm locked in, so I often don't notice what's going on in the chat. Especially in a super intense game like that, man. But yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. What an invasion. Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks to Legend, man. What a cool guy. Notice me, senpai, lol, right? Oh, yeah. Cool. So let me get the next map locked in here, and we'll see what these guys go in terms of faction picks. That was a game, man, and against Hadris too, a very solid Skaven player. I would say that's like a pretty meta Skaven build. Woo, man, I'm sweating. Oh yeah, Legend used to play multiplayer, and I wasn't in the community during the multiplayer community, at least during that time. I kind of joined later on, but yeah. We'd always welcome him back with open arms, of course, if he wants to start playing in multiplayer. I don't know if he has any interest in it, I have no idea, but the great thing about multiplayer is the community, the way it's built up right now, there's a lot of resources, and for... Obviously, Legend's very familiar with this game, and yeah, like, knows on the campaign side, I would say maybe better than anyone. But yeah, like, in terms of multiplayer, at least for, like, obviously people besides him, for people who are just starting out, transitioning from campaign to multiplayer can be tough sometimes, and especially given how, like... complex, how built out the game is now. Granted, like, the fundamentals don't really change, like rear charging, cycle charging, getting good positioning, having open lanes of fire, targeting priority, right, picking the right targets to shoot or charge at the right time. Like, that doesn't really change faction to faction too much, besides figuring out which units specifically that is, right? But, like, in terms of getting good positioning, like being aware of the speed of your units, a lot of that is pretty fundamental, so it can seem a lot more daunting than it probably is, but what I would say definitely for people trying to get into multiplayer is pick, like, maybe 2 or 3 factions, maybe just 1 or 2 to start, but eventually you want to branch out, kind of cover some bases, and then, yeah, just start to learn those and kind of go from there. Like, there's so many great resources in the community for you to learn, and it's a lot of great players to practice with. Quick battles is meh. Like, I'm really hoping in Game 3 we get a more built-out multiplayer system that has some of these things built in place, but for the time being, like, I would say the best way is to get in one of the Discords that's for multiplayer and try and find some people to play there. Check out, the rule sets will kind of give you an idea, and there's even some army guides out there as well. Yeah, oh, I would love to. I would absolutely love to. I'd be honored, man. Cheese specialist. Yeah. We're actually pretty close to done for today, unfortunately. Olegowich, the Empire Captain, which is a great name, by the way. Awesome. Yeah, man, I would be honored if he hosts another multiplayer tournament. Yeah, it's a cool community. The multiplayer side of the game is this, for me at least. Like, I've played like Legend. I'm sure I've played pretty much every Total War. Like, I started, Shogun 2 came out when I was a little kid. To be honest, I probably shouldn't have been a little violent for a little kid to be playing, but I was playing it, and like, Medieval 1, I should say, is when I really got super deep into the series, and it's crazy for me. Like, I never really, up until Total War Warhammer 1, like, I played a little bit of multiplayer in Rome 2 and Shogun, but I wasn't really all about it. I was pretty much just a fan of the series in general, and man, like this, the evolution from Total War Warhammer 1 to 2, all the DLCs, like the way things have progressed, this is probably, I mean, diehard purists will say like, oh, AoE 2 and AoE 3 and this and that, StarCraft obviously, but like in terms of a new game that's come out since, I don't know, like 2010 maybe, like this is probably the best multiplayer strategy game since then. But yeah, actually, absolutely, you can play multiplayer without too many DLCs, and in fact, I'm planning on putting together, I have some replays on my channel that you can check out, but I want to put together a specifically DLC-free army guide. But yes, absolutely you can, with certain factions more than others, but like Skaven, most of their strongest units are, besides the weapons teams, like mortars are good to have, but you don't necessarily have to have them to win. You can win with Rat Ogres and your Plague Priests and your Abomination and regular tools. Like Lizardmen, same thing. Honestly, most of Lizardmen's best stuff is like their Slawns, which are free. Mazdamundi's free. You're missing out on the Dreadsaurian, which is not the worst thing in the world. You've got plenty of other monsters that can fill every role you need. Like, you got Chameleon Skink Space Line, you know, you've got your Cold One Riders. Lizardmen actually might be the best faction to play without any DLC. Because none of their DLC stuff, I mean, the Dreadsaurian's super strong at killing other single entities. But anyway, let's have a look at these builds here. These guys are now getting started. We've got Morgr, the Shadowgave, Bray Shaman, Lord of Death on a Chariot, Butchers of Kalkengard, Gore Herds, Razor Gore Herds, Poison Warhounds, Centaurs with Great Weapons, Sons of Goros here, and Ungor Spearman Herd with shields up front. Yeah, pretty straightforward build, similar to what we saw last time, but we've got the Centaurs with Great Weapons. The ROR here, especially the magic damage, Dark Elves tend to come with a lot of physical resistance, right? Like, obviously, Marathi's got physical resistance. Units like Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter both have a bit of physical resistance as well. Even Malekith does. So, actually, having magic damage here, hey, Fiver from Max Potter, big thanks, man. Much appreciated. That's one way to get my attention. Get the Green Knight popping up there. Anyway, yeah, we've got Chili Boy here, Chill of Sontar, some Scourge Runner Chariots, Dark Riders with shields, Fear Spears, a couple Manticores up in the air, super cost effective, and Marathi. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Budgie Pop. Man, big thanks to Legend. He is a legend, truly. Much appreciated, guys. Yeah. Yeah, the campaign versus multiplayer is an interesting dichotomy because there are some units that are good in both, but like the way that you build your stacks in campaign, especially when you're playing on the higher difficulties, like you kind of have to do that, right? And it's interesting, like you end up with certain units very specifically, like making up the bulk of your armies, but then in multiplayer, like generally you want to take a balanced army, or at least an army that has the right units for your approach, right? Like here, it seems a bit odd to play defensive with Beastmen if you think about kind of the faction design, but with the Cygor and with their mobile tools, you can kind of play this like arm's length sort of defensive strategy, and it works okay. Here it looks like it may be in a little bit of a tough time. The Chili Boy is just pushing through so hard right now with these infantry units, and the double Manticore plus Marathi is a lot of flying stopping power that can swoop in very quickly. Like, and Manticores is a good example of like campaign versus multiplayer. In campaign, I don't know that you would ever want to actually take Manticores in your army unless that's like just, you know, your first low tier monster. I forget factions that can take it exactly like where they fall on the buildings and stuff. But in multiplayer, Manticore's probably in the top 5 monsters in the game because it's so cheap. It provides terror, has great animations, does good damage on the charge. You can, of course, summon them with Transformation of Kadan. So Manticores are a pretty good example of kind of the dichotomy between multiplayer and single player. Oh man, look at this! Oh, Morgar just getting absolutely swooped by all 3. Meanwhile, Chili Boy again in the front line here. These Butchers of Kalkengard are doing a decent amount of damage to him. They've only lost 1 model so far, but they are getting pretty low on HP. There they lose another model. And the more models they lose, they're not going to be able to regenerate that HP back. That's bad for them. Sisters of Slaughter also. High DPS, high speed, plus poison means they can chase and kill pretty much any Beastman infantry unit outside of Bestigors. Even then, they'll trade pretty decently into Bestigors, as long as they don't take the charge to the face. But Scourge Runners out the flanks here. Big old Murderous Prowess power spike coming in. The Beastmen are not out of this yet, though. You can see the balance of power, despite the shellacking they've taken here, is dead even. Chili Boy gets pushed back by the Eye of Morslib, and the Sons of Goros have managed to keep themselves relatively healthy. The Butchers of Kalkengard, likewise, still 10 unit models. They haven't lost any more. Just regenerating. Morgar's done, though. Oh, man. What happened to you, Morgar? You've seen some things. It's down to 200 HP and is shattered there. So that is a big issue. But keep in mind that the Lord killed leadership debuff is greater than the Lord fled leadership debuff. And likewise, there's a permanent element of the leadership kill debuff. Whereas the Lord fled leadership debuff will fade completely after a given amount of time. So it is much better, even if the Lord is shattered, if you can kill them. But a beautiful breath attack there from the Chili Boy. That Frost Breath comes in and just absolutely wrecks. Yeah, a bunch of stuff there, allowing Marathi maybe to escape, but she is getting dunked on right now by the Eye of Morslib. Marathi, although she's a very good combatant, does not have a lot of HP. She takes too many hits, gets some bad luck on RNG, she will get destroyed. But the other Manticore now diving in to try and bail her out. Looks like she is going to escape the clutches of the Butchers there. Oh, just barely. Pops back up in the air right in time. Beastmen are looking pretty good, though. I say that. Out here in the periphery, they're losing out a little bit, right? These Dark Riders being very key here. Dark Riders, great charge bonus on them, super cost effective when they can get good open field charges. And like here, they're going to help surround this Bray Shaman, potentially. He just actually runs right through them. But now that he's stopped up, he can get surrounded by the Sisters, by the Spears here also, Dark Riders. Man, the Marathi charging in. Marathi has quite a bit of heal cap space left. She can use those Soul Stealers to her advantage, get that HP back up to her heal cap. You can actually get her heal capped in a standard multiplayer game. A Doombolt comes down, hits the Eye of Morslib there. Scourge Runner Chariots out of ammo at this point, having to be used in melee, but they do have 80 armor, plenty of charge, so they can do that just fine. A little bit of friendly, would you call it friendly fire, friendly frost? I don't know. Friendly frost there, hitting those Scourge Runner Chariots, although it seems fine. At this point, Beastmen are behind on the balance of power, and considering that the Beastmen usually start ahead on the balance of power, that's not great. Butchers are coming back, though. They've got a handful of models left, but yeah, the Sons of Goros here, catching the Scourge Runner Chariot, going to manually dismantle the one that remains here. That's pretty good stuff. Beastmen definitely not rolling over here. We saw already strength in the last game, but I think this is probably it. Marathi now coming down for a final engagement. Warp Gaze gets popped on her, pinning her in place. But the Chili Boy comes through, and look at the designs, man, on the Chili Boy. Such a cool looking unit. Sons of Goros also come for support, but as the Cygor falls, the Eye of Morslib is down, or gets shattered, I guess. Yeah, it didn't actually go down. That's it. That's it. GG. GG. Great game, man. Fun stuff. And Ice Power comes in with his Dark Elves, able to steal the win there. Dugos, great job with his Beastmen. 2 very solid games. And I like that kind of Cygor, Cygor defensive style. It's a style that I played with some variations in the past, and it can work well, especially when your players or your opponent's not expecting it. But here, Ice Power had the right had the right build, the right tools to take it on. So very good stuff. Very, very good stuff. What about Magic in multiplayer compared to campaign? So the main thing in multiplayer is because you can buy, so like when you pay for a hero, you can actually select which spells you want to take and which ones you don't want to take, and they have a gold cost associated with them, right? So like generally you wouldn't take more than like 2 is the most common. You would take 1 caster with 2 spells and that's it, and just spam those 2 spells, right? Because in most situations, you don't need that many spells. Like, you want to do something specific with your build, whether that's summon Manticores for extra terror and rear charges in monster fights. Yeah, so typically you just see a lot less spells. Like, even if you have 2 casters, you'd probably, and this is advice from me, you'd probably only want to take up to maximum 5 spells between 2 casters, and that's even pushing it. I would say like 4 spells between 2 casters is even a lot. Because you have to remember to use them, you have to use them at the right time in the right place, and you have a limited amount of Winds of Magic, more so than you do in campaign. So yeah, that's kind of the main difference, is you just see, like, you'll see Mazda Mundi with only 2 spells, which in the lore seems really strange, but just for multiplayer costs, that's how it ends up playing out. Yeah. Yeah, I've had games where I only take 1 spell. Yep. Sometimes you just take Plague of Rust only. Let's go ahead and lock a new map in here. What am I thinking? I'll do Toothgrass Hill. That's another pretty solid multiplayer map. Yeah. Yeah, and there are rules also. And this is, like, in quick battle, you can take duplicate spells. But, for example, in the banner rule set that I use for my tournaments, and like Turin uses for his ECL, it's the one that's most commonly used across a lot of the top level stuff. Like, in that one, for example, you can't take duplicate spells. Like, if a unit has a bound spell, for example, like you take Sisters of Thorn, you can still take Shield of Thorns on your caster as well. But, yeah, you can't take, like, 2 zombie summons, for example. You can take Gorst and another Necromancer, because Gorst actually has the Graveguard summon, right? So you can take both of those, because they're actually different spells. You can't take 2 Necromancers, both with Raised Dead, right? So that's yeah, one of the other main differences, too. Likewise, this is more of just a kind of a meta concept, not specifically, but related to Magic. Monster Caster Lords are generally seen as the most powerful in multiplayer because they give you your Lord and Caster in one package that can fight and usually has a lot of HP. Sometimes they're big targets as well, which is a problem in certain matchups, but like, Monster Caster Lords are generally the top tier of Lords in multiplayer, and that's probably true, I guess, of campaign as well, but yeah, it's interesting. The Empire Captain, the interesting thing about the Empire Captain is, in multiplayer, is he probably won't make a huge difference, but he's so cheap that the difference he does make is absolutely well worth it. He's like, with no abilities on him, he's something like 350 points, which is ridiculously cheap. Like, that's super, super cheap. And then you can take Hold the Line, which is a nice little melee defense buff, for what, like an extra 60, 70 points, something like that. But yeah, man, Wicked, you missed a good stream today. You'll have to go back and watch. We've had some awesome games. Greenskins versus Dark Elves. It should be an interesting one. Greenskins are really strong right now in multiplayer. Super, super good. Yeah, see, yeah, like, that's fine. Yep, Volkmar with Banishment plus Lightcaster with Banishment. Totally fine. And, like, even the Slans, like, you can take a light Slan with Banishment and Banishment, right? Because in multiplayer, the Slans actually have Banishment as a bound ability. And the other thing, too, is you'll notice if you go through and look at the different characters, generic characters especially, have different items from the campaign. So you can't choose whatever item you want. You have a few that the developers have chosen that you can take if you want to or not. But some of them are really strong. Like the Tormentor Sword is one you might remember for campaign, where it freezes everyone in an AoE around your lord or hero. That's one that's on a couple of lords and makes them much, much stronger than they would be otherwise, like the Beastmaster and the Goblin Warboss on a that you can take either on foot or on a squig. He also has it. So like the items for generic lords and heroes kind of vary, and sometimes they are really good, sometimes they're just kind of there. Like the one that the Thane has that gives Dwarfs extra charge bonus has to be one of the dumbest items in the game. Like why would you give Dwarfs extra charge bonus? But yeah, then there's other ones like the Arms of Paul's Black Horror, or like the Assault of Stone is one that is pretty popular in campaign. That's a pretty good item. You can also take in, I think, the Prophetess, Bretonnian Prophetess has that, and also the Troll Hag. So, like, again, you have random items scattered around. Helm of Discord is crazy. That's one of the strongest items in the game. Super, super good. Like, the Blood Dragon and the male Glade Lord both have it, and it's, like, by far the only reason you would take them. I guess Blood Dragon's a pretty good combatant, too, but... typically, I would say the easiest faction to learn, I recommend usually Tomb Kings, because they're undead, first of all, so you don't have to worry about microing routing units. They have pretty strong phases, except for infantry. Their infantry is pretty weak. You can support that. They have monsters, they have cavalry, they have skirmish units. Like, they have every phase. They have artillery. So you're going to learn how to use every unit type and how to sort of play in a supported way. But they're undead, like I said. They don't rout. They're pretty strong in general. They don't have too many bad matchups. Like, really, the only bad matchup I would say is probably Norska. Other than that, though, you have good matchups pretty much across the board, or at least even matchups. So yeah, Tomb Kings is usually the one I recommend. But also, there's a lot of people will recommend, and I think there's a lot of truth to this, that you should just pick whatever faction you like and start learning them. And you can do that, but if you pick, like, say, Skaven or High Elves, those ones can be a little bit harder to learn. Like Wood Elves especially are probably the hardest to learn. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't. They can be a lot of fun to play once you do learn them well, but some factions have more of a learning curve than others. I would say undead factions are a little bit easier because of that aspect of them. Speaking of undead, here we have the Tomb Kings. And, yeah, Arkan the Black going to be leading the way. He's got Spirit Leech, Fate of Buna, Skeleton Summons here, along with the Physical Resistance AoE. Got some Nehekara Horsemen, Skeleton Horsemen Archers, a One Ushopti Greatbow, along with a Casket of Souls, Tomb Scorpion, double Tomb Scorpion, in fact. And, yeah, just Skelly Warriors, Skelly Spears, couple Tomb Guard. For the Dark Elves, going to be something similar. We've got Marathi, double Manticore up in the air. Lore of Fire this time, makes sense. Tomb King Lords are weak to fire, and just in general, Burning Head's a great spell for killing zombies. Looks like that's what he's got there. And then also Corsairs, yep. Repeaters. Fear Spears, including the Hellebronis over here in their hot pink with poison attacks. And a couple of Harpies out in a Vanguard. Greenskins are pretty decent. You will have to worry about leadership as Greenskins, because most of their units are relatively low. But they're also relatively straightforward and forgiving. Chaos is also, like, they're not super... They're not the strongest. They're good. I would say no faction is, like, super weak in multiplayer. Chaos and Norska both, though. Like, straightforward rush, that can be relatively easy to learn, too. But yeah, Tomb Kings, Greenskins, Empire, High Elves, and Dark Elves are also sort of well-rounded in terms of their roster, but they're a little bit trickier to learn because some of their units are squishier and like they really rely on getting synergistic abilities and stuff. Like Empire, like the prayer buffs, right, from the Warrior Priest and VOLKMAR are very key to many matchups and situations. But anyway, these guys are off here. Screaming Casket, not the Screaming Skull. Casket of Bones and Souls and other things. Gonna fire in here. Does some okay damage. Nothing too crazy so far. The Spirit Leech being popped on the Manticore, interestingly enough. I like that pick. Because Morathi can heal herself, you know, you're going to kind of be dumping your magic down the drain that way. So instead, Spirit Leeching the Manticore and potentially causing them to enrage earlier on is very, very good use there. Finally, the Casket makes some decent contact, doing some okay damage to those Corsairs. Manticores charge in, though. Manticore, Morathi, and the other Manticore getting pretty aggressive here, but the Skeleton Horseman Archer is actually going to be able to get some good Overwatch. Like, they're pretty cheap, right? Only 500 points on these guys, so if they can get some good damage against these Manticores, that's a nice, cost-effective way of dealing with them. And yep, like this one that got Spirit Leeched and now Enraged here, so it's going to go directly into these Spears and Archers, which is tough, but yeah, rough situation for the Dark Elves, but they're going to continue advancing. It hasn't taken too much damage yet, so not the biggest deal, but Harpies swoop back. They're going to run some disruption. Obviously, they won't win this engagement. Maybe they would beat the Casket, but it's more just about tying these units down and keeping them from shooting. Looks like potentially, yeah, they're not fully engaging there quite yet. There are some Nekara Horsemen kind of hanging around for defense. Yeah, Feral Manticore here, still holding its leadership for the time being. Actually, it hasn't taken too much damage, but also is now starting to take a little bit more focus. Wow, that Burning Head, though, just rips across the Tomb Guard in the back line. Harpies actually land right into it. Take a little bit of damage from it, but that was really nice value there, destroying that Tomb Guard. And Manticore is able to finally disengage here. This other one's fighting against the Scorpion. They're both kind of mixed in with some melee units here, but the Corsairs will absolutely beat the Skeletons, and then that will leave... Manticore, you're supposed to be fighting the Scorpion, not the Spears. Anyway, Manticore's got a mind of its own, but Morathi and the other Manticore are actually going to drop down, do some nice damage there on the charge. Soul Stealer here also in the back line. Does catch a bunch of these Skeleton Horsemen, but the Harpies running some disruption here. They mostly get countercharged, like I said, by the Nekara Horsemen, able to pretty much shut them down. The Crows of Cain here, the Karens, their healing helps them out a little bit, but even still, they're gone. Will it be enough? Dark Elves pushing through pretty aggressively up front. One's Tomb Scorpion down, the other Tomb Scorpion's over here fighting the a Fire Sorceress, which is pretty decent considering she's on foot. The anti-infantry damage will apply. And the animations of the Scorpion make it really hard to fight because it like goes underground, like changes position a bunch, like rolls over. Very active animations. It's hard to make consistent contact. So that's why taking this one out here is definitely very solid. It's already gone. This other one now getting dropped. Actually not by the Manticore. Manticore drops on the Archers here. Got some... Dark Riders with repeater crossbows, but things are starting to tell a little bit against the Dark Elves as Tomb Kings continue firing. The Casket drops a nice little dunk there, but looks like instead it's going to switch back onto the Dark Riders here. These Nekara Horsemen, nice stats, 28 and 32 for a cav of this cost, and that's also undead, especially 38 weapon strength, not bad at all. They're going to charge in here. Help support this engagement. They're kind of like almost like a mounted undead state troop, which is actually really good. Like for only like 250 points more than something like a swordsman, they have comparable stats. Obviously way less unit models, but they are mobile and undead. Libra Mortis coming in here to give some physical resistance. Same time, we've got the Soul Stealer as well. Morathi now dealing with this Tomb Scorpion pretty much by herself. That anti-large AP damage that she deals, obviously pretty important. Will it be enough, though? I mean, the Dark Elves still have a lot of melee push alive here still. The Ushabti and the Casket of Souls have some ammo left, but I don't know if they're going to get time to use the rest of it. I guess the Tomb Kings do still have some summons here. Arcan can potentially summon up some more Skeleton Warriors. And the Tomb Scorpion managed to extricate itself from the grips of Marathi. Likewise, one man scores down, the second man scores down as well, so... yeah, I think the Tomb Kings have got this. I don't know, I think the Dark Elves, I don't know if they have enough left in the tank here. Arkan still being pretty healthy is also a bit of a problem, and Marathi is kind of the last power unit left here. Yeah, Skeleton Horseman Archers, didn't see those guys coming back from route, being able to chase and shoot the Dark Riders there. I think that's it. Sorry, bite my mic stand there. Hopefully that wasn't too loud, but Durthu is best girl. Riverhack is best girl. Ooh. Ooh. I don't know. I think actually Kalita might be best girl because she's a snack lady. Yeah, Screaming Skulls are really good. I like them quite a bit. Against Elven leadership, you don't get as much value from that, but the magic damage against Elf infantry is nice.
Let others die.
Wood Elf is the best female Glade Lord. Yes, I would agree with that statement. I think that's a pretty uncontroversial statement. I think we all can agree on that.
Only a fool would stay.
Oh, best Wood Elf Lord. I thought you said the best. Yeah, anyway, my brain's a little bit of a potato. Yeah, Durthus is good in some matchups, and I kind of just skip past the end screen there. Great job, by the way, both players. So it was an attempt. Gobbo Slayer able to defend his artillery position up until the end there. Good attempt, though. Nice rush build. I like this Marathi double manscore thing. Gives you a lot of flexibility. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Gobble Slayer was just saying that because the masters don't enrage, you could potentially take a master and like what's his name, Beastmaster and a regular master. They don't enrage, so maybe you could take them here for air choices. But yeah, solid game. Yeah, we'll try and get some Grimgore in here. Let's see, I think I only have one more player on the list, maybe? Okay. Here it is. Yes, list. We were gonna do... Get it, Mule. Okay. I think that was all. Yeah, that's the last one, so... Got one more for OU. Sorry. Clickety-clacking on my keyboard real quick just to get this next match set up. Let's see here. It's moving again. A little music on in the meantime. Oh, my voice is starting to go a little bit. We've been at this for what, like 2 hours, 3 hours? 2.5, yeah. Yeah, the casket. Casket's a good counter for the Dark Shard spam. It's an interesting matchup. It's definitely an interesting matchup. You know what you... yeah. It's an... I would have to theory craft some builds around, but I've seen, and I have used, actually, you can give... if you go with, like, a dragon build, you can do some stuff with Lore of Fire and like bolt throwers you get basically bolt throwers to help negate the Shabti Great Bows, and you have a couple of dragons to deal with monsters. Probably want a cheaper lord. I might actually take the Beastmaster on a chariot. to give some extra buffs around. He also has Tormentor Sword, reasonably cost-effective on that mount. I think he's pretty cheap. Then, I don't know, I'd kind of have to theorycraft around. It's been a while since I've tried that, but I seem to remember having some success with that back when the Beastmaster came out. Or I think even before the Beastmaster came out, I was trying it with the Lore of Fire Supreme Sorceress. That's right. Been a while. You could go 5 Dark Shards, plus like 2 Bolt Throwers. Then you're a little bit risk of Cav. I mean, granted, they don't have that great a Cav play, but in the Hekar Horseman, if you have a few Dark Riders you can answer to. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting one. The problem, though, is if you go with too much range, and then they come at you with a rush build, like with Chariots, and like going wide on Ushabti and or even just like Tomb Guard, you can run into some issues that way. And it's oftentimes that the meta kind of develops over time and changes even within a given patch, because there's sort of like a rock, paper, scissors of builds in a lot of matchups. In some matchups, not so much, but... Oh, as in Legend Spam, yeah. Yeah, if you're talking Legend Spam, you gotta go full stack almost, right? Yeah. In most tournament rule sets, you're limited to... It kind of depends on the cost of the unit, but like, let's say low to mid-tier units you can bring 5 of, like high-tier units you can bring 4 of, elite units you can bring 3 of, and then monsters, there's specific rules around them too, so that's why you don't see like monster spam or other things like that. Oh no. No. Don't crash, Steam or Warhammer. I just wanted to change the map. Uh-oh, I'm gonna have to get back in there. Huh? Oh, that's funny. Okay. If I can rejoin. Of course, on the last game of the day. Yeah, we had some Empire games earlier on in the stream, if you go back and look. We had some Empire, and I don't think we've had any greenskins today, actually, now that I think about it. Vampire Coast? I don't think we've had any Coast games either. Yeah. Generally, I'll let the players pick what they want. Unless they try and do an undead mirror, in which case, nope, that's not it. Okay. Let's rehost this. Why are you oppressing the undead? Well, because I'm not the biggest fan of the crumbling mechanic. I think it's kind of boring, and in multiplayer, it can straight up break the game sometimes. Like, I have literally seen a crumbling unit win a game. Like, one unit left, just them, they're actually crumbling, and they still win the game. So, yeah. I oppress the undead because in multiplayer, crumbling is ridiculous. The fact that your units don't rout and keep fighting at full strength is insane. It's super, super powerful. So that's why I oppress undead. And also because, I mean, they're dead. What are they going to do about it? Fun fact, disintegration by itself, I should say army losses by itself, is not enough to disintegrate certain vampire counts and vampire coast lords, and probably Tomb Kings too, actually. Basically, any lord with more than... with 75 or more leadership, with any undead unit, I should say, with 75 or more leadership, does not disintegrate from army losses alone. You actually have to add other leadership debuffs to make them disintegrate, which is kind of hilarious. Yeah, just get good, bro. Yeah, pretty much. The problem is, I can get good, but then if someone gets good with undead, then you really have a problem. like Blood Knights, as an example, against a skilled player, you're gonna not be able to kill Blood Knights until they're at their healing cap. Like, unless the player, even against a skilled player, they could make some mistakes, obviously, that's always possible. But, like, Blood Knights, you can get them to their healing cap easily if you play your cards right. Like, hilarious in a non-hilarious and actually depressing way? Yes, correct. Hilarious in the way that you want to cry. You can only cry or laugh, so you choose to laugh, because otherwise you'd be crying. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Also, Crumbling does magic damage too, I'm pretty sure. I need to double check that, but I think all direct damage abilities technically deal magic damage, so like if you have a magic resist ability, or like the Karstein ring, if Vlad's disintegrating and you pop that Karstein ring, he'll survive through most of the disintegration. Like, he'll be 90% resistant to the damage. It's nuts. Crumbling is fine. And I've talked about this in videos in the past, but basically my thoughts on Crumbling are that, like, there should be some kind of debuff, and if they have to increase leadership for a lot of undead units, that's fine, but there needs to be... Crumbling needs to be more impactful. Like, you need to actually care when your units are crumbling. I would say either just making Crumbling do more damage straight up, because it only does 10 DPS right now, which means it takes more than 10 minutes for a zombie to crumble. Yeah, making Crumbling do more damage, or if the unit had like significant melee penalties while they were crumbling, that would also be fine. Yep, exactly, Ugasm. Yes, exactly. The same way you laugh when you hit your knee or balls. Exactly. 100% correct. Okay. Let's go ahead and fade that out before I forget. And here we are, last game of the day. And yeah, thank you all guys for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure. Big thanks to Legend again for the raid. And here we are back again with the Skaven, this time taking on the greenskins. So you guys got your wish, greenskins, some of you at least. Let's have a look at the Skaven build first, though. Starting out at the back, we've got a couple of Poison Wind Globadiers, interesting choice. Warp Grinders, Lord Skrolk leading the way, along with an Assassin. Hell Pit Abomination. We've also got a Warlock Engineer. Whoops. Okay. Hopefully YouTube is okay. Had to refresh the page there. Yeah, and then we've got Skaven Slaves, Rat Ogres, right? Some Clan Rat Spears, like I said. For the Gobs here, we've got the Unbreakable 8-Peak Loons. Swamp Things, Regiment of Renowned Trolls, got a bunch of light cavalry here, Squig Hoppers, Spider Riders also, looks like a bunch of Pump Wagons, 3 Flappa Pump Wagons, we've got Grimgore leading the way, and an Orc Shaman. Someone was wondering about the best, and it's kind of hard to see him in this very dark forest. This exceptionally dark, shadowy, gloomy wood here. You can barely see him, but he's here. You can see his teeth. He blends in with the green forest background, but... Yep, he's here. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And the knowledge thing, yeah, that's kind of what I try and make my niche, is like the really knowing in depth about the mechanics of how different things work, like the actual math, even though I'm not great at math, like knowing the numbers of and how the different mechanics interact with each other and things like that. That's primarily what I cover. Even though I cover multiplayer on my channel, that's like my focus, right, is on kind of mechanics and knowledge and stuff. So yeah, if you want more of that, definitely check out some of my multiplayer videos. You'll learn a lot. Right, so you each pick your army basically in secret, and then like at this point I can see both armies, but they can't see each other. So you both deploy kind of in secret and then fight. Like this Vanguard is a little bit shocking. You're gonna see here that a Get Up Mule is gonna have to react to this very quickly. And that's why Vanguard units in multiplayer can be really good, because you can get your opponent off balance and force them to make mistakes. That's not, you can't really, you can, I guess cheesing the AI is literally just forcing it into making mistakes, but you don't do it in the same way as you would against a human player, right? And this, just a really aggressive rush like this, you can see immediately the Warp Grinders come in to respond. We've also got Rat Ogres rushing in here as well. Hell Pit Abomination could even detach and go over on that far side there. But yeah, some quick rushes in. We've already got some of the Skaven chaff fleeing away, but that's fine. Poison Wind Globes also throwing in their globes to doing the damage over time effect there. We've also got some... oh man, these Night Goblins, look at how low their leadership is. Because they're isolated, they're surrounded on multiple sides. They're going to get routed off basically instantly here, more or less. The Seismic Snare may be a little bit wasted there, a little bit early on that pop, but... nice response. And look at this cast of Fanatics right through the center. It's going to do some nice AoE damage against this Skaven blob here. The Skaven weapons teams in particular will take some damage from that. Squig Hoppers, Spider Riders pulling them back around for their cycle charge. Looks like we've got a magic missile there, blasting mostly friendly fire. Absolutely amazing. Skrulk also with this giant Rod of Corruption. Rival High Talisman from the Assassin, debuffing the melee attack. As the wall gets popped, you'll see that these units are still debuffed in terms of their melee attack. That's why you bring Rival Hide Talisman against the Greenskins. The Hell Pit Abomination rushes there into the center. The Flappas, though, starting to work on this flank here, and Gobbleslayer making a little bit of a mistake here with these Swamp Things. This is his one unit that causes terror, and he really needed them in here a while ago to start terrifying away some of these Skaven units. You can see that the Greenskins are having problems with terror, obviously. They have pretty low leadership as well. Both these factions, to be honest, are somewhat weak to terror routing and just in general leadership damage, but now Seismic Snare being used again here, locks some of the Flappas down. The Rat Ogres are very key for countering Chariots. Chariots are super good against the Skaven because they don't have much mass. Rat Ogres are really kind of their one thing to help counter, I guess, along with you know, your single entities like your Doom Wheels and Hell Pits and so on, but I just love Flappas, the unit models, the animations. These little snotlings are having a great time, just having an absolute blast here, rolling over all of the different things. Skaven, though, have, it's kind of stabilized on both sides. Whoops, smacked the mic again. Apologies about that. Skaven have somewhat stabilized here, been able to push a lot of units back, but at the same time, Greenskins are doing a nice job kind of picking away these isolated units here. Utilizing that light cavalry to chase routing units, very important in multiplayer to get rid of your opponent's tools, not allow them to bring them back, and that's why Undead are so strong. Don't have to worry about that, but Bloodforged armor here. Let's take a look. Grimgore's fighting in the center, just absolutely surrounded by Rat Ogres and Storm Vermin and everything else, and yeah, he's doing fine. Oh, Skrulk's here too. That's great. He can just chop Skrulk. I say he's doing fine. He's actually taking some damage, but a beautiful Brain Burster there. Detonates a whole bunch of the Skaven supporting elements. That allows more Gobbles to now swarm in here. So things are starting to turn around. Fanatics cast. Oh, those are the 8-peak loons. They've got the beards. The dwarfs tied. And just swinging them around. Absolutely shameful for the dwarfs. Be involved in a fight against Skaven. And gobos and greenskins, I guess, actually. That's kind of funny. Another Bloodforged armor gets popped there. Rat Ogres are not able to do consistent damage against Grimgor. He's just too good of a combatant there, just destroying their unit models. More Fanatics being used through the Council Guard here is a great target. Even though it's not going to do too much damage, every little bit helps against an unbreakable unit like that. Balance of power slightly in the Skaven's favor, if anything, but there's still plenty of Wolf Rider archers hanging around. Still plenty of the Swamp Things as well came back from route. They can get back in here and get some terror. But this Hell Pit Abomination is going to be a problem. Grimgor is going to have to take it on basically himself, I think. There's not a lot of other tools that... And the Goblins are doing a tiny bit of damage with their bows, but this Hell Pit Abomination is likely to get up to its healing cap, so... Oh, nice. Nice Edbutt there. Again, trying to take out these Council Guard and these other very tattered Skaven supporting units. Bloodforged armor, once again, Gobble Slayer's been very consistent about popping that Bloodforged armor every time it's up. Giving Grimgor extra armor and that explosion AoE as well. More Warp Grinder abilities being popped here to pin various units in place, but here come the Swamp Things. They did not get hit too bad by that Warp Quake. It can now move in. Man, River Trolls are a pretty cool looking unit, I have to say. I like their skins quite a bit. And the Swamp Things in particular, the cheapest terror unit you have access to as greenskins. Very good in a wide swarming build like this. Another magic missile there from the Shaman's going to do decent damage. Doesn't do as much as Vindictive Flare, because it doesn't have an anti-large bonus, but oh no! Grimgor! Grimgor's getting taken out here by the Plague Monks. And by Skrulk as well. The Hell Pit's done some damage to him. He's stabilizing his leadership, but a nice Bloodforged armor explosion there. If Grimgor can finish off Skrulk, then he has a chance of winning this, but this Hell Pit Abomination is a problem. It is a major, major problem for the Greenskins build. You can see that also this Drain effect going consistently from the Warlock Engineers, not doing a ton of damage, but over a long grind like this, it can add up very quickly. And oh no! Things wild back and forth as suddenly Skrull gets terrified by the Swamp Things, who themselves are getting routed away. Grimgor now also wrecks this Warlock Engineer. The Shaman can chase him off. And now Grimgor, can you fight the Hell Pit? Can you do it? Now he's going. Hell Pit tries to pull away from him, actually, and go after some of these Flappas, it looks like, seeing if he can bail the Assassin out. Getting that Assassin back, getting the debuff up on Grimgor would be huge in this late game. Oh, great way to end today, man. A nice back and forth. A beautiful, beautiful game. Grimgor getting some work done in here. Using the Flappas as the anvil. He comes in as the hammer. Another Bloodforged armor there. And, yeah, the Hell Pit's taking some heat. Hell Pit is taking some damage. Council Guard are almost gone. Skrulk is, might come back, actually. We'll see. The Assassin... Using the Flappas to chase them off is a pretty decent idea, but also cycle charging the Hell Pit with the Flappas, as weird as that sounds, you could do some pretty consistent damage. I mean, these guys have 80 charge bonus, and their attack animations will hit large units, so you can use that to your advantage. Come in here, do 120 weapon strength on the charge. You know, adding the charge bonus plus the weapon strength together. Oh man, gets blasted in the back, but that's it. The leadership is gone. Grimgor gets routed, but he survives very critically. 200 HP on Grimgor. Wow, what a game. What a game. And now it's just the unbreakable Storm Vermin still fighting here. No doubt these units will turn around and finish them. No? They're a little bit concentrated on the Hell Pit right now. But yeah, here we go. Last stand of the rats. GG. Oh yeah, everything about Game 3 I'm super excited for. Between Kislev to Chaos Dwarfs to Ogres to all the demons and all of the... Hopefully we get like divided factions too, like Warriors plus Demons God specific. Khorne, Tzeentch, you know, Slanesh, Nurgle faction each, plus maybe a Demons Undivided with no Warriors, and then obviously we still have Warriors Undivided. But man, this Storm Vermin here, oh, Grimgor executes him, get a great shot because that giant pot was in the way, but hey, that's just how it goes. You can call me a pothead if you want. Anyway. Oh, fun stuff. Thank you guys so much for joining. Big thanks to Legend for the aid and the shout out. Been a pleasure, man, and a great game to finish things off. Gobbo Slayer taking a narrow win there with Grimgore. And that's, wow, 216 kills for those 8 Peak Loons. Very impressive. 104 for the Flappas, 87 on another. Wolf Rider Archers also managed to get some XP chevrons, which means they were super cost effective. 167 for the Squig Hoppers, 100 for the Brain Burst, the Shaman. On Get Up Mule's side, 43 in an XP chevron here, and 80 kills for Warp Grinders. That's kind of nuts. Usually don't see Warp Grinders get a ton of kills, but that is very impressive. 2 XP chevrons there, 71 for the Council Guard. Yeah, unfortunately the Poison Wind Globes, probably want to trade them out for mortars. You just get a little bit fire range. You can potentially keep that debuff up for a longer amount of time, although certainly there's an argument to be made for volume over range. But yeah, great game, man. Great game. Thank you guys. Been a good day. This was a great way to, yeah, spend time. Thank you guys so much. Kind of put on some music, I guess, let you guys ask any final questions, hang out for just a few more minutes, but this is effectively the end of battles. Thank you once again. Yeah, man, Game 3 is going to be so good. Game 2 has already been amazing, and how much things have been fleshed out and changed and improved. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Gobble Slayer's the only one who managed to stay on the hill, right? He got 2 wins, which makes him the king of the day, I guess. Not that there's any prize besides, you know, pride, honor, but he managed to hold on to his title, which is impressive. We had some scraps today. Absolute scraps, so thank you guys. That's it for me. And, yeah, I will bid you farewell. See you next time. Hopefully we'll be doing some more Total War Warhammer streams soon. Just stay tuned to the Discord. Keep your eyes on my announcements channel if you want to know when I'm going to be streaming other things. That's it. Thank you.